I put the bottom of my heart, that's love.
Hello, hello, hello. Good evening and welcome, 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 welcome. Right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Um, please share the space with your friends and families or anybody that you know will benefit from this space. Today we'll be talking about unlocking opportunities in the NHS from application to interviews. So please and please send the link to your friends and family. Let's do that in 1 minute, and then we can get started already. In the meantime, please um, follow the NIUK official handle and also follow our guest speakers who I'll be introducing in a bit, just so that you can keep up with the conversation. Again, we want to encourage people to use the chat room to react to things being said and ask questions, because we might not be able to take everybody on the stage. There's a limit to what we can take on the stage. For those who don't know, this is NIUK, Nigerians in the UK Twitter community. We're a registered community in the UK, and the aim of this community is to give Nigerians in the UK that feeling of being at home, home away from home. We do this by connecting together and supporting each other to win together. Part of the ways we do it is by hosting spaces like this, discussing topics that are affecting us as immigrants in the UK, discussing topics that will better our lives, discussing topics that will make us achieve our aim and objectives of being in the UK. We have over 20,000 members in our community, and we also have different WhatsApp groups for different locations. We are on Instagram, NIUK community, we are on TikTok, and you can also check our website www.niukcommunity.com, where you can see some of our events. We have a like a calendar on there where you can see upcoming events and past events that we've done, and also just general information about what NIUK does. Also, if you want to be a part of the community, we have just very simple rules. To join the community, you need to have a profile picture on. This is just put in place to reduce the number of bots and catfish accounts that we get requesting to join the community, and also to put a face to who we are interacting with in the community. You need to be resident in the UK. We might randomly ask you to prove your UK residence, and this is not malicious, just to ensure that we have members in the community that are actually living in the UK. The UK, the community, we have different expenses that we run. Part of which will be maintenance of the websites, running errands for the community, and all of that. So, for that reason, we have put a token of £1, which works out to be about £12 a year, as voluntary. Emphasis on voluntary subscription. It is voluntary. You do not have to pay this before you're accepted into the community. It is voluntary, but this is just a way to support the community so that we can get things done when it needs doing. Um, every other thing about the community, we will be at intervals. We'll be talking about it, but this is just a brief overview of what the community stands for. If you have any other queries about the community, joining the community, pending applications to join the community, please send a message to the official handle. I'm trying to divert traffic away from myself now. Sometimes I might be able to do it when I'm free, but other times, please direct the traffic to the official handle or any of the moderators. To get the list of moderators, if you check on the community, click on the members of the community, and then you will see list of people who are moderators. Send a message to any of them or catch their attention on the main TL, and then they will be more than happy to help you, provided that you meet the criteria to join. Criteria one, you must be resident in the UK. Two, you must have a profile picture, and you do not have to pay. It is a voluntary payment. Because I've been getting feedback saying, "Oh, you have to pay before you join the community." That's not true. It's a voluntary payment. You can pay, or you can decide just to be a random member of the community. Now, thank you for that. Having said that, I think it's time for us to go straight to the topic of tonight. And before we do that, I would like to introduce our guest speakers, who together tonight will be dissecting this topic, and hopefully, before the end of tonight, we'll be able to get the best out of it. With no further ado, I would like to introduce our person, our I like to call her the unofficial VC, the VP, rather, the unofficial VP of the Nigerians in the UK community. She's always there, like anytime you call on her, she's always there to assist us with everything and anything we request from her. Is no other person than Buki ABPM. Buki, good evening. How are you tonight?
Good evening, SK. I'm great. I'm actually looking forward to this, even though, even though we know the genesis of this. But yeah, I'm glad to be here. Is it possible to pull up the two other speakers? And when you were saying we're speakers, you're also a speaker as well. So
Yeah.
can we invite Issy Mem? I
She's
hope
here already. She's on the
she's
speaker
here.
space.
Oh, it's not showing up on my
Yeah, she
screen.
is. She is.
And is Ayola here as well?
Yeah, he is as
Oh
well.
God, I think I might be having a glitch because it's not showing on my screen, but that's all good. So
Yeah.
should we get started? Being
Yeah,
that
yeah. Please, please.
I'm time boxing everything. I'm one of those people that when I'm in spaces, I don't like to do more than 60 minutes to 2 hours maximum. So without further ado, hi everyone. Really pleased that you're here. Thank you for joining us today for us to talk about this topic. This topic was introduced, well, it's been going, I've been seeing it on Twitter, quite a few people trying to come into the NHS. And, I've been seeing, unsolicited advice flying up and down in the streets of Twitter. And for the longest time, I tend to kind of like bite my tongue and not say anything. But there was a particular tweet that caught my attention, and there wasn't anything particularly wrong about that tweet. It was just the impression that it was giving, and that was the reason why I counted it, and we will talk about it later on. But it's great to see you all here. It's great to even be seeing all the messages on Twitter Space, and people being enthusiastic about wanting to learn about exploring their career in the NHS, which is brilliant, because the NHS is the core of the health system in the United Kingdom. Now, before we dive in, I'd like to clarify that all views, including my own, and insights shared by me today are my own views, right? And they are a reflection of my personal and professional experiences, right? I really want people to literally, I hope you've got a pen, paper, if you've got your laptop in front of you, take notes. If you hear any websites or anything, go to those websites and put it on your saver, right? Really. Now, what are the core objectives for this call, for this talk? The core objectives is what we would like to go through is obviously give you an introduction to various opportunities that you can find in the NHS, because I don't think many people actually know. And if you do, fantastic. Those are the kind of tweets I want to be seeing, opportunities days in the NHS. So hopefully one of the speakers will talk about that. We're also going to try and give you information on as to where you can find job opportunities, job openings. And then what we'll like to do is also give you, hopefully, a step-by-step walkthrough of an application process, as best as possible. We've got an HR professionals that works in the NHS as one of the speaker, and we've got a recruiting manager. So it's not just my perspective, as well as a recruiting manager as well. We'll also hope to shed some light on how to have an effective interview that can possibly give you the opportunity to get yourself a job, and then obviously talk a little bit about the COS as well, and in terms of referencing as well. So we've got a lot packed in a 2-hour conversation. So we do have a plan for today. Let me quickly go and check what that plan is. So without further ado, I am going to pass the mic back to SK. Maybe all the other speakers get to speak a little bit, and then you go in and talk to us about opportunities in the NHS. SK?
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for that. Right. So when we talk about the NHS, right, NHS is arguably the largest employer of labor in the UK. Like, NHS is so big that there's absolutely nothing that you're looking for as a career that you can't find within the NHS. It goes as far as working as a pastor within the NHS, as an imam within the NHS, as a driver, as a cleaner. Just think about it. Whatever career that you think you want to pursue, there is an opportunity for you within the NHS, right? Gone are the days where people, when they think NHS, the first thing that comes to mind is, oh, I'm not a nurse, I can't get a job within the NHS. Or I'm not in the medical field, I can't get a job. Or I'm into IT, I'm a tech bro, I can't get a job in the NHS. No, we have the clinical and non-clinical roles. The medical ones are the clinical roles. The non-clinical ones are the ones that are not patient-facing, like the administrative roles and the other ones that I've mentioned earlier. So the first thing I'll do if I'm looking for a job within the NHS will be to go to the official NHS websites. So there are two websites, which is obviously the track.jobs, TRAC.jobs, TRAC, Tango Romeo Alpha Charlie .jobs. That's the official NHS websites. On the other hand, we also have the NHS.net. No, actually, I think it's NHS.jobs. That's the other um official NHS website. Now, I tend to use the track.jobs websites often because if you make an application on the NHS websites, along the line you get a notification saying your application has been transferred to the track platform. So it means that your application will still end up on track. So why not just do the application on track? So if you go to track, which is the official website, um it's self-explanatory. Go on there. The first thing you see, you might be confused a little bit, but it's just the same thing. It says healthjobsuk.com, and if you scroll down you can see the different sectors that they've separated the jobs. So we have the nursing and the midwifery, which is obviously, it's what it says on there, like if you're looking for a job as a nurse and all of that. The administrative ones, the emergency services, the directors, volunteers, also volunteers. So if you're looking to volunteer within the NHS, it will be a good way for you to get the work experience that a lot of people lack when they looking to jump into a career. You can volunteer within the NHS. If you go on there, you can see voluntary roles that you can work there for a couple of hours. One good thing about working volunteering with the NHS is, one, you are guaranteed of getting that experience that you want. Two, NHS have ways of appreciating their volunteers. So they do these. Sometimes they have like a volunteer appreciation week where they just like goodies and stuff just to give their volunteers. Three, you will get references that you've actually worked within the NHS. And four, whenever there's any opportunities within the NHS, the internal staff gets notified first. Like, you hear rumors within the trust saying, oh, there's probably, or you even know that somebody's leaving. And when somebody's leaving, there is this thing that they need to replace that person that is leaving. If you meet that criteria, if you know that is something that you're always looking forward to, you're already within the family. So it's always good to take advantage of that and speak to your line manager or speak to people to recommend you for certain jobs. So, which is also a good thing to do when you volunteer within the NHS. Apprenticeship as well. So some other another opportunity with the NHS is you can join the NHS as an apprentice. You will be going to uni and at the same time be working. So you can do an apprenticeship for like a band 4 role to become a nurse for to become a nurse. For example, you can do apprenticeship in from a band 5 to a band 7 and all of that. So it's like, trust me, that website is loaded with everything when it comes to applying for jobs within the UK. Okay, Buki, are you there? I think
Oh
okay,
yes, I'm
Buki's
here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
okay. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
I
Yeah.
think you've given a really great list, which is brilliant, because quite a number of people just used to think it was just NHS jobs or NHS.net. There are so many, just like track jobs that you've mentioned. There is also, I'm not sure whether you mentioned NHS Digital for those that are trying to come into the to the digital space. I don't know. I'm not sure if you mentioned that while I was away. I've just shared in the bubble, tweeted a government link, site link. Where can I find jobs in the NHS? Please read through that. It's really, really useful. And I'm sure when Isimeme comes on, she'll be able to share more light on that. But we do have a running order, so bear with me. I would like to invite Ayola to come and talk to us about navigating the application process from start to finish from the perspective of a recruiting manager. Ayola, are you there? Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. Really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity. Actually, so I'm known as Tolu Olope, and Ayola is also part of my name, anyways. But I'm known as Tolu Olope, and I'm a medic. But at the moment, I work as one of a senior operational lead um, of one of the directorate in my trust. And I'm also, based on the fact of my position, I've been exposed to a lot of recruitment process from start to finish, and also I'm also a value-based interview trained, and one of the BME representative when it comes to interviews. So I've been opportune to witness so many interviews and go through the recruitment process. So just like you said in the beginning, what all the views I'll be sharing are personal views based on my professional experience. I've been able to do this within three trusts. So I'm not saying that whatever I'm saying are perfect, but like I've been able to, these are experience that I've acquired over time and not just in one particular location, in three different trusts. So yeah, I think SK was mentioning something in regards to places you could find job. There's another site that you could also get job, and I think that is specifically for University Hospitals of Birmingham. You've got so many job opportunities there that most of the time they don't advertise their job on track. So you can just go to the link, University Hospital Birmingham. You could see different jobs, and the website or the way their own application process is being done. It's a bit similar to track, but somehow simpler to track. And I've had a lot of people get jobs there, and because it's a big trust. We've got like four trusts under them. We have Atlant, we have Queen Elizabeth. We've got so many. So we've got the Birmingham Children Hospital. So it's a lot of trust. It's a lot of hospitals under them, and they got so many opportunities from admin roles to so many roles. So it's something that people should look out for. So based on what I'm talking about, shortlisting, and so I've actually been able to split that into different sections so that I could pick that one after the other. So let me continue from where SK stopped. So you're able to find a job. The most important thing is the fact that you need to know if you've got the necessary experience and the requirements. So it's important that you download the JD. Literally, they've made this thing very easy. So most times when I see people say they want to pay, I understand that people are desperate. I'm not against that, but this is just my personal view. I understand people might have tried, but it's so very easy. So that's the reason why it always takes us as hiring manager to prepare the JD and the PS. So we spend weeks because we have to prepare the JD because we just want to make life easy for you. We want to see so that we'll not, because for us as hiring managers, we go through the shortlisting process and we have KPIs on how by the time the vacancy has closed on track, there's a particular time frame, the KPI time frame that you need to be done with shortlisting. So for us, we want to make life easy for you. I want to also make life easy for us. So that's the reason why it's important that we always spend time. There are times that after writing the JD and the PS, the library team will reject that because they want it to be precise. They want it to be, well articulated. So the first thing when you've got the job, or when you
Can
Zini,
anyone
has
hear
it
you?
cut out? He's
Oh,
cut
okay.
out.
I was gonna
He's
say
cut out. Ayola,
he's
hoping
probably
that
gone
he
on
will
a
come
call.
back. Let's give him 2 seconds. Let's send him a message because I'm not sure if he's aware. But can I just say Twitter is glitching? So for the longest time, I had to go out and come back as well. So I think what Ayola was trying to do was trying to explain to you the process from the start as a hiring manager in terms of what we do to prepare ourselves, in terms of the requirements to ensure that the process is easy, well, as easy as can be for anyone that's applying for the job, and also to remove.
essential
Okay,
criteria,
he's back.
you will see the desirable.
Now
Can you
we
hear
can
me,
hear you.
please?
You
We
went
lost you
for
for
about
about 45 seconds.
3 minutes. So can you start from
Oh,
when you completing the JDs and then it's approved? Because there was a part where you said that it gets rejected and then we didn't hear you. So if you start, yeah.
oh,
All right,
I'm,
continue.
I'm
You're
sorry.
welcome.
Okay, that's fine. So as I've said, so just to make life easier for both the recruiting managers or the hiring manager, whatever they call them, and the applicant, the library department or the library service unit, they ensure that everything that is written in the JD and the PS is actually well articulated so that the applicant will be able to see clearly to understand if this is what I can do, if this job is for me, if I have the necessary transferable skills, or I also have the necessary experience, or I think I can learn on the job and all sort of things. So it's always something that we really work on. It's so important and that's like the bottom line of application. So when you've got a job, let's say you've got any job, you download the JD. Some will say some will put it as a JD alone. Some will put it as a JDPS. So when you download that, as I've said, it will tell you more about the job description, the job title, who you're reporting to, your requirements, or the job, what they're expecting you to do. But the catchy point and or what is the most important thing for you is to go down to the person's specification, which is always in the tabular form. So you've got the essential criteria, you've got the desirable criteria. So now we use a particular application in shortlisting. Definitely we use track. So for if it's based on a track job, so we use track. So we've got like the track admin, not like the normal track that everybody's got. So on the track admin, when everybody applies, so on the track admin, hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes, continue.
Perfect. So on the track admin, when people apply as a hiring manager, you always have the lead hiring manager. So just like the person's name. So most times when you see some job advertised on track, you see the person's name. So most of the time, the person is always in charge of the application. And I forgot to say this. It's so important that you can also reach out. You can always also call. You can actually discuss some things before you also apply. You're not shooting yourself in the leg, or you're not doing too much. It is expected, and that's the reason why I've got the numbers there. I'm always receiving calls when there's always an application or advert out. So you could even get more clarification. You could discuss some things further. If the hiring manager really is a very nice person, but you could discuss some things further to have a full understanding of what you're doing. So back to what I was saying. So you've got the essential criteria. It's always in the tabular form. So you see measured at, some will tell you. So it's always like the A, T, I. At times you just see the A and the I alone. The A is always at the application, the I is always on the interview. This will give you an overview of the kind of question you receive. This will give you an overview of how you should make your application. And with this, you don't necessarily need to pay anybody any fee to get this application done, because the track, when people apply, we don't even know who's applying. We don't even know their names, because the track admin application for we the hiring managers, we even see anybody's name. So we're not going to see. The only way we could see if the person is from this particular location or this region is based on the education. When you're reading and say, oh, you see someone from Nigeria. Most times when I see that, I'm always very happy. But the thing is, as a shortlister, you're not the only one. So most times we'll get like 3 or 4 people shortlisting to ensure fairness. And we're going to add all our scores together. So it takes time to read all these things. So before, I used to hear people say they use an application or they use like a particular computer. No, it's you have to. I read through. Most times because most times you recruit nurses, you recruit advanced clinical practitioners, you recruit phlebotomists, recruit admins, and all sort of things. So you have to read through everything. So for the admin app, so when you've got the person, and at the end of the application, or at the end of the job, if the job vacancy has closed on track, it will tell you we need to move this job to the shortlisting stage. So it brings out everybody that has applied. So the first thing that is going to come out when you're shortlisted, it will give you like the score. So if I get to like the training and qualification, it's going to give me like a score, like a score sheet. So it's going to give me like a marking scheme. Let me use that word, a marking scheme. So there's something that I'm looking for. So let's say that I've got like a particular job in front of me, and I'm using this as an example. So let's say it's saying educated to a degree level or relevant experience. So in your application, you just need to prove to me that you are educated to a degree level. So probably when I'm reading through, I need to see, oh, this person has got like a bachelor's degree, or it's a relevant, or whatever experience that you've acquired, it's actually relate, or we can actually qualify that to be like a degree level. So we've got that. And another thing, while I'm saying, I just remember this. I've also heard people say, oh, the desirable, you don't need to bother yourself about the desirable is the essential. It's a lie. We both score the same, though. So it's always having like a score. So at the end of the day, the essential might have you like the essential might give you like the essential the overall score for the essential might be like 40, why the desirable can be like 20, but we are still going to add the whole score together. So at times you can add 40 plus 20 to give you 60 as overall. Or we could say this is the score baseline for us to move you to the interview stage. We can say you must have at least 38 over 40 for the essential. We can say we must have like 35. I'm saying based on what I used to do in 3 different trusts. So I need to mention that. So for the desirable, you could say, oh, since it's over 20, you must have like 15. So at times, and when we've got like a tie, we always use something. If somebody has got more in essential, more than desirable, we can actually prefer to give that person based on after all the shortlisters have come together. And I need to let you know that after we've done this, the recruitment team too are also checking. So they also ensure fairness. They review this and they go through every process. So as I've said, now you've got the educated to degree level. So you just look for a way to prove to them that you're educated to a degree level when they are checking under your qualification. So it's not necessarily about you. I understand we want to impress, we want to put all the stuff we've got, but you can just look through it. Evidence of a CPD. So if you've got like a continuous development program that you know of, or like there's any teaching that you've done, so any training that you've done, and that can be classified as a CPD, you could put that all on under the qualifications. So knowledge of so I'm just using this as an example, what I've got in front of me. Knowledge of the NHS in the acute sector. So now that is always where the issue is. So no matter how much you're using an AI or you're using ChatGPT, if you don't have a knowledge of NHS in the acute sector, there's no way you could be able to get. So it's always important that haven't though when you see the job, it might look sketchy, you might look, oh, I can do this. It's always very important. So stress yourself and just waste bullets. Download the person's specification to read through. And so after that, you've got the training, you've got the experience. It's always classified like that. The training and qualifications, experience. Some of them will tell you communications and relationship skills, analytical and judgment skills, plan. So depending on the kind of job role, so it will highlight how you should describe all those things. Now for skills, now looking at one of these jobs as an example, well-developed IT skills, particularly Word and Excel. So when you're writing under your experience, so your experience should show that you've used Word and Excel. It's so that simple. By the time I'm seeing, oh, it's not even, I've not even gotten to personal statement. I'm just talking about your experience. So you don't necessarily need to copy and paste the experience, or sorry, the job experience on the JD. You don't need to even copy the full job description. It's also important when you just look at the person's education, you have an understanding of what you're doing. So like the planning and organization skills now, demonstrable planning and organization skills. So that will take us to probably your personal statement. So you should be able to demonstrate all this in your personal statement. So I haven't put all those things in your, so you've been able to demonstrate everything, the relationship skills, analytical and judgment skills, all sort of skills. Then we score. So when we see you have, if you say the degree, someone that has a degree will have like 5 points or 10 points. We'll give you that 10 points. So let's say somebody that has a degree together with some CPDs and some other experience, we give 20 points. And but you've got like few of those things. So it's just based on the shortlister's discretion to say, okay, let me give this person 10, let me give this person 15. So because we've got like a score sheet, and so that gives us an idea of how to score wherever that we are scoring. So after that, the whole thing. Now I've realized something recently that during shortlisting, a lot of people, most especially Nigerians, we are good at words. Some of our personal statements are worded, and we put all sort of things. But at the end of the day, it's tiring reading all through all those things. It's not in the length of the words, or it's not in the amount of what you're writing. Because to be fair, this is me being sincere. There are times you read through and I'm just tired. It's so to make life easy for the recruit for the hiring manager. There's a particular strategy that I've always tell people in my church and some of my friends, and it's been working. Now, because it's working for them, might not necessarily work for you, but this is just what I'm trying to say. So what you do during your personal statements, the same way they've actually, outlined the PS, right? The same way they've outlined their person specification is the same way I was expected to do it. Training, and you put during your, instead of writing, fine, I'm right. I've read so many personal statements. I'm like, gosh. So instead of writing all those things, so easy, straightforward, no necessary drama. Just go straight to the supporting statement. Under the supporting statement, just like using like the sub headline system, put training and qualifications. Now they're expecting you to show or demonstrate that you're a degree. So you just write it. I have so evidence of a CPD. Mention the CPD you've done, like just like you're writing, but you've got like an headline. So as a recruiting manager, I know that this person is an organized person. This person know what he or she is doing. I just go straight to it. I'm like, oh, under the training and qualification, instantly I can see, okay, this person has got that. Fine, I'll go forward because I have like that score, that score sheet that is giving me that marking scheme. The next thing that I'm looking at is the experience. The same way they've been able to highlight it on the person specification is the same way that score is. So the next thing is the experience. So if you've just written all the words, and I would have to start skimming through, where's the experience in this? Where's it? What did this person say as well? But if you've under the experience as the subheading, you've mentioned related to what they are saying. Now, minimum of 2 years. Now, with this particular job I'm looking at, minimum of 2 years experience in management role. So you've been able to, and I can tell you categorically that you can actually use your transferable experience. While I was in Nigeria, I was a full clinician, but I jumped into the management role with my experience in Nigeria, and that's what I've been using. So you can actually use so there are some of these experience that are transferable. It's just about you knowing how to write some of those things. Knowing I've read so many Nigerians application. I'm like, gosh. And I've met so many Nigerians during interview. I'm like, oh God. So as I've said, to make it easy and don't make the stuff clumsy for you, just the same way. But if you feel that you're not comfortable with that, you can still go with how you feel. But just understand that what they are looking at is that measured at a interview application. So all the application they're expecting to just put all these things, they demonstrate all these things in your application. T for those that might have tests. So I've gone for interviews that they'll give you tests, some skill tests, trying to task your brain and other things, or presentation. So some of them they'll put P, presentation. So they are, so for some higher jobs, like I think from band 6, some jobs now from band 6, band 7, band 8A and sort of things, definitely you have to present. So the I is interview. So you need to have an idea of what your interview will look like. Automatically, instead of paying someone to prepare you for interview, which is not that bad, but it's so easy. You can have an idea of the question they will ask you. Like this one now is asking, is saying commitment to trust value must be able to demonstrate behaviors consistent with the trust value, and is saying measured at ATI. So automatically, if you expect questions that's going to talk about the trust value, so what is important for me as an applicant is to go through the trust value, read about the trust value, and find examples in my head of how I have demonstrated some of these behaviors, because definitely there will be questions that will come out of it. They won't lie. We don't have much time to start looking, paying somebody to write questions for us. We've got so many things to do, right? From the shortlisting, from the to put a job, to put a job on track is so stressful. So from recruitment, most times take 3 to 6 months. So from putting the job on track to even them approving it, because most times we have to present some of these jobs to the finance team and HR to tell them why we need these. For if it's not a trust that is going through financial issue, it's always stressful. So we're already stressed already. So just to make life easy, so the questions are around all this already. How to, so the thing you need is just to go and download the person's specification. And in regards to supporting statement, the same way they've been able to, highlight those things, just use the sub headline system for your interviews. For the supporting statement and the interview too, you have an idea of the questions from the interview. The last thing that I feel like saying is in regards to the value-based interview. Now, most trusts that I know at the moment, they are looking at going beyond what you have on the paper, because some of these trusts are aware that informations are flying everywhere. So it's so easy to, basically it's so easy to use. They're also aware of ChatGPT, definitely. So it's so easy to use the ChatGPT to get interview. But I want to see how, and that's the reason why most trusts now are moving to the value-based interview. I was trained by them, and there are times that most times I volunteer, and if there's any other interview in another directorate that is not even in my own directorate, I want to go there to see how interviews are being done, because my question will have to be based. So most times they will give me the opportunity to ask questions based on the trust value. So let's say a trust that has a trust value as PACT, PACT, partnering, ambitious, caring trust. So it's so important that you know how to demonstrate, because there'll be questions that will come out of that. They could give you tasks that require you to see if you're ambitious, tasks that require to see if you're. So there are times that when we now score on both. You might actually score very well during your interview, but if the hiring manager does not feel that you are going to be a team player, because to be fair, nobody always want to change the winning team. Nobody want to change the winning team. We understand the fact that there's a vacancy and want to recruit you. Now, I'm not saying that if you've got the highest score, that they will not take you. Please, that's not what I'm trying to say. But most times, it's always very important that to also look into doing well as someone that will fit into the team. So always look into the trust value, because as I've said, trust now, they are looking beyond. I've gone for one interview before, and when I was even expecting so many questions, and they said, "We know what you can do. We've seen your application." Because during interviews, we'll also download your applications, so we'll know you're the right person. So I've seen what you can do. I know you are. We've got this. You've got that. You've got that. But we want someone that will be someone that will fit into the team, someone that will give what the team does not really have. And these are the two. How will you demonstrate some of these values? And I was like, gosh, I had already prepared for interview. So most of the time, many trusts now, I am not saying, I don't know for all trusts, but 3 trusts that I've worked in the past and the present trust, they are really looking into the value-based interview. So really, really sure that you have the value, you can actually let the hiring manager see that you actually what the team needs, not just someone that is just willing to do the job. And I think that's all. Anyways, that's all.
That's amazing.
I don't know if if I've been able
That's
to
amazing.
take
That's
everything.
amazing. Thank you so much. What did you say you prefer us calling you? Not Ayo.
Tolu,
Sorry?
Tolu,
Tolu. Tolu.
Tolu,
Okay.
Tolu Walokwe.
Tolu, that was really
Yeah, Tolu.
amazing. You explained the reason why when I saw that tweet, my head sparked, because I just felt like, so I've been doing my work the right way. And someone says, I'll just use Chat GPT and get a job. Honestly, I'm not saying people shouldn't do that. And I'm going to talk about it in extensive, as much as I can to talk about, the right way to do it and the right way not to do it. But listening to how you share your process is really, I hope people are listening. And one thing I want to I am taking from that is sometimes people are listening and saying, oh my God, I have to do all of that work just to get a band 3, just to get a band 4, just to get a band 5 role. Honestly, the process sounds a lot more complicated than it is, but it's really easy. If you listen to everything that Tolu says, if you haven't, come back and listen. It's very, very important. But but
Buki,
I'm going,
I call
yeah.
ChatGPT. Only GPT do that thing.
So without, you know, I want,
Sorry, sorry,
go on,
sorry.
go on,
I just
Tolu.
want to add something. Sorry,
Yeah.
just 1 minute. Yeah, I understand the fact that a lot of people might be concerned about having certificates of sponsorship or sort of things. There is really no job with the NHS that it's a waste. One of the one of the easiest way to get to the top in NHS is by just start with something, right? Just start with the lowest banding. Like just start. To be fair, SK did something for me. Well, it's not part of it, but SK did something for me that I'm sure he did not know. To be fair, it's actually changed a lot of things at the moment. So you could say that band 2 job or that band 3 job, you might feel that, oh, it's too low. Just get it. Just 2 months experience within NHS. It's just enough for you. You can change your level within you can change different bands within 5 months. So I was able to change my band within in the space of 6 months, like different. So it's so just start irrespective of the degrees or the qualification you've got, as long as probably sponsorship is settled. Start with something. Just start with something, and that's just the beginning.
Thank you so much, Tolu. Thank you. Thank you. I hope people are listening. Just start with something. Just come in and start with something. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm going to pass the mic to Issy, who's going to talk to us about confirming the application process and also to follow us through with the interview process from an HR perspective. Am I saying your name correctly? Is it Issy Meme or is it Issy?
Yes,
What would you prefer?
it is fine. It is fine.
Issy,
Thank you
thank you so
very
much
much.
for being here. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the invite. Just a bit about myself. So I currently work in recruitment, actually, in one of the NHS trusts in London. I have done recruitment for quite a while. Actually, straight after my master's, I joined the NHS purely because it was the easiest organization to get into at the time. I think most of us were probably looking at banks and other companies, but the NHS process was quite easy, which is one of the reasons why I joined. So the view I will give you will probably be cover what has already been said, and I do apologize for this. It's just that my perspective is both as a recruiter and as a manager in recruiting to vacancies within my team as well. And of course, because you're a recruiter, you're part of those who make policies and writing guidance and documents that underpin the recruitment process in the NHS and in our individual trust. So, in terms of, let me just see if I can make some corrections. Sorry, I know a lot of things have been said, but yes, what I'm saying today is my personal opinion, but because of the job I do in the current trust I work, there are some corrections I do need to make just so that accurate information sort of goes out. So I'll start off with track and NHS jobs, and I can give you the history because I was part of it at the time. Actually, the main site for advertising jobs in the NHS is NHS Jobs because it was made for us and it is free for employers to use. Track Jobs came about, if I remember, 12, 13 years ago because NHS Jobs couldn't give us what we needed. There's so many reports you have to produce as part of recruitment that NHS Jobs was making things difficult. In fact, I remember a time when we used to do NHS Jobs and lots of spreadsheets. So, guys in St. Thomas's at the time were kind of like usually the leaders in technology development in most NHS organizations, contracted a company and came up with Track, and that's how Track came about. Now, Track, because it's a secondary system we use, it's paid for by employers. So every NHS employer that is using Track has a license and pays for it, while NHS Jobs is free. So whether you apply on Track Jobs or you apply on NHS Jobs, either one is the same. The essential thing is what we use mainly is NHS Jobs, and then that feeds into Track, and then that feeds into ESR, which is the payroll system that is used in the NHS to pay staff. All right. So let me just talk about the recruitment process from start to finish. Usually there's a vacancy because a manager, similar like AB Buki and Ayola has mentioned, has a vacancy, and the vacancy could be for a number of reasons. Now that vacancy would then trigger a manager to get vacancy approval, which is finance to confirm there's money in the budget to be able to recruit to that post. And then secondly, the job description. It's important at that point that the manager goes through that job description and ensure that it is up to date, it still meets the criteria for the role, and that the banding is the right banding. So I don't really want to bore you, but Ayola mentioned things about job descriptions being rejected, and the reason why it's being rejected is because of the banding. There is a process around how job descriptions are written that then sort of determines the banding. Sorry, it's a separate process. I won't bring this in. So once the job description is approved, the banding is all clear, which is linked to salary. The post is then advertised, and it will be advertised on your initial system if you're using Track, and then it's transferred within a few hours to NHS Jobs, and then people will see it and apply. Can I just add to what Ayola mentioned about contacting the hiring managers or recruiting managers, depending on what terminology you want to use? It's good. It's a good thing to do if you ring them up, whether or not it's at the time of you applying or you deciding to apply. It shows the hiring manager that you're keen. This is what you really want. You're really interested in my job. So if you, in fact, there's certain roles in NHS that if you don't even ring up and speak to the hiring manager and you come for an interview, that will count against you. Let me just be clear, those are medical jobs and they tend to be at consultant level. The expectation is at that level, you should be contacting everybody who is on the advert and seeing them. You can also visit, you know, not everyone's got the time, I understand, but you can visit, see what the service is like, see what the ward is like, speak to people there. They might even give you some tips that you can use. Oh, this is how our shifts are, you know, this is what we do here, which will help you in that application process. Now, when you're applying it, the Ayola mentioned fantastically that the job description is really what you need, and there's so many resources out there that you really don't need anything paid for. I will give you one. Prince's Trust. I don't know if you know of the charity called Prince's Trust. There is a lot of work that NHS organizations are doing with the Prince's Trust to support people in terms of how to apply for jobs and how to interview. So if you meet the age criteria of that charity, please contact them. And of course, you can get support. They host a lot of events that you can attend and get support. Also, NHS organizations tend to host programs where they are inviting people who are interested in the organization to come and understand what the application process. If you do see one, join. It will give you some useful insight. But essentially, all you need to apply for a job is a job description and the person spec. Now, the person spec, what you don't know is the person spec isn't just a tool for who meets the criteria for the role. It's also the shortlisting, as Ayola mentioned. It's also the interview questions, if you don't know. So uh, I'll mention this because in the role I do, I train recruiting managers on how to recruit at the organization. So one of the things that managers need to ensure is that the person spec is very clear and concise. So there is no, it has to say experience of X, Y, and Z. Because if the person spec isn't clear, it will mean that the number of applications they receive is very high. So that person spec needs to be clear. And then it means when you're shortlisting and you're setting your interview questions, it's also clearer. So if you know the person spec in and out, you're good to go. So I'll give you some few tips, again, from experience. If you're filling in your application form, the first part, so the application form is broken down into four main parts. The first part is the personal information. That shouldn't take you more than 10-15 minutes because it's your personal data. We expect you to do that really quickly. Then the next part is about your education and then your work experience. Again, your education, as long as you have the information at your fingertips in your CV, you can copy and paste, put the year you finished and what program you studied. That's easy. Where you spend your time is experience and the supporting statement. And I'll give you a rule of thumb. There is the 80-20 rule that says you do 20% on the other part and then 80% on that experience and the supporting statement, because that is your evidence for the interview. If you do not put time in there, when you get to the interview, that's where you will sort of struggle, and they'll be able to pick out whether or not you filled in the application, even if you're using an AI program. So on the experience, I'll give you some tips in addition to what Yola has mentioned. You can use a previous job description. You can use a CV, because most times in your CV and your job description, it would list out a description of what you actually did in that role. So you can, for time, copy and paste. The only thing is, where you do that, you make sure that in your supporting statement, there's quite a lot of robust information that you can talk about at the interview. All right. So experience is done. We go into supporting statement. Now, supporting statement has a character limit there. So you probably want to do it on a Word document or do it on a document, whatever, before you then paste it into that application form. What you need to do, again, sorry if this is repetitive, is use the layout of the person spec to write your supporting statement. The managers in the NHS are very, very busy. Their jobs are not only just what they do on the ward and the clinical. They also have management on their time. So they are very, very busy and won't have enough time to start, they have to read everything, but make their jobs easier, because it would also appeal, their application form will appeal to the manager. So the way the person specs start, I think most of them start off with qualification. So you can have a subheading on your supporting statement that says qualification. And in there, simple sentences, I have X, Y, and Z. Whatever qualification is stated in the person spec, stated there, and whatever year you got it. And then that will be that completed. Then the next part usually tends to be either experience or knowledge or skills and ability. If it's experience, what you're looking for, again, using the 80-20 rule, that you meet at least 80% of those things in the experience, both in the essential and both in the desirable. I forgot to mention the essential criteria. If you do not meet the essential criteria, technically, it means you can't do the job. If you meet the essential, all of it, and the desirable, then you're good to go. That means we don't even need to give you any further training. On day one, you're good to go. If you meet only the essential, but you don't meet the desirable, that's a good thing. It means that there is scope for us to train you to be able to do the job. All right. So once you look at the person spec, look at the essential and the desirable on their experience, make sure that you have a paragraph for each part of the criteria. And it's okay to say, I have experience of doing X, Y, and Z. I usually say to people, if you want to give yourself an edge, add an example, because that example tells the hiring manager that you know what you're talking about. You've done it before. And in recruitment research, we tend to say that past behavior, past experience is a predictor of future job performance. So if the person's done it before in the job, in the previous experience, then the chances that they will do it in future is greater. So that's why you need to make sure you have examples. So take each part of the criteria and the person spec and make sure you have at least a sentence for each part of that criteria. And then there's some that will be lumped together. Then you add your example. So I think sorry, Ayola, I'm just going to use your example again. You mentioned about Excel, having Excel experience. It's okay to say, yes, I have used Excel in X, Y, and Z. But the person who says, I've used Excel in X, Y, and Z, plus I use and gives an example, will score higher in the shortlisting than you do if you just put a generic statement. I don't know if that makes sense. I would just add to the shortlisting. So the there is a misconception about shortlisting in the NHS, and I think I've seen it on some posts, that we tend to use AI to do shortlisting. I can assure you, we're not that advanced. We would love to. Are we looking at it? Yes, we're looking at it. But there are problems, as you might know, for those of you who have experience in AI, with using AI for such things, in the sense that it will bring in a bit of bias, which we are very mindful as the NHS that we've done a lot of work in the last 10 years to try and remove bias in the recruitment process, that using AI to do shortlisting might bring that back in. Hence why managers actually read every single application. As painful as it is for them, they actually do read it. The only thing is, recruitment teams might support them by help them to filtering out. And that filtering, again, is not AI based. It's pretty much manual. So we'll be able to check a few things like professional registration and previous experience to be able to filter out, just to make the recruiting manager's job slightly easier. So the shortlisting is scored. I'll give you an example of how the shortlisting is, mainly because we all use the same system. It tends most NHS organizations will use a scale of 0 to 2. So 2 being the maximum score and 0 is no point, because you haven't indicated in your application form that you meet sort of the criteria. Um, the format I gave you in terms of how you fill out your supporting statement, I've personally used it, and that's what I use in all the applications I've applied for and been successful for. When I run workshops on how to apply for jobs, it's the same format I give to people, and yes, it does work, mainly because it's clearly laid out, and you are following the person spec the same way the manager is seeing the person spec on the screen. So it's easy for them to read and just score quite easily. Okay. Let me just talk briefly about interview. So if you've done a good application and you're successful at shortlisting and you've been invited for interview, if you maintain the same approach, you're likely to do really well at interview. It's just that people tend to forget what they put in the application form. Now, let me tell you from my experience what the application form does that you may not know. The application form is one, to check that you are the person that have applied. And I will say many moons ago, we used to have people that the person who applies for the job and the person who turns up for interview are two different people. We used to have that, but the application form, we use that now to weed that out. So they will check that you're the same person. Then the second thing they will do is check that the information you put on it is accurate. So the interview questions essentially come from the person spec. And I say to managers, if you're struggling to write a question, just turn your criteria into a question and add at the beginning, tell me about a time, describe a time when you've done X, Y, and Z. Simple. So that means if you've done a good application form, your answer is already there. What you don't want is for the manager to be reading the application form on the day to try and weed out the answers. What they want you to do is tell them what is already in the application form, but the examples you may have given, you need to elaborate on it. If you elaborate on it, it clearly demonstrates that, one, you filled in the application, it is your experience. Again, interviews, as you know, is subjective. The managers will observe body languages, and they can tell from where people are speaking, whether people are speaking from memory or that people are speaking from something that is rehearsed or something that they've heard someone tell them. It's easy to pick. You just need to observe the person's body language and you know whether or not they're lying. So what the expectation is, and I think this is where people struggle, is what is on your application form, please repeat it, but just repeat it in more detail with examples so that we know it is you who actually did this and it is your experience. 9 out of 10 times you will be successful with this approach. Um, you know, like I said, managers are very busy. They want an easy process and they want to quickly recruit to their vacancies because it's costing them a lot of money to have that post vacant. Yeah, I think I've covered. So I've covered support. Yeah, so I'll just add some tips for the interview. The interview is a sales pitch. So consider yourself a car salesman at an interview. You're selling a car. The product you're selling is yourself. So you're selling your experience, you're selling your behaviors, you're selling literally everything about you. So your language and your description on that day has to be positive. If you're giving an example where you have probably made a mistake, there has to be some positive outcome, even if you've made a mistake. So if you remember that, I know some people struggle with selling themselves, but if you remember that, it should make things slightly easier. So again, it's a sales speech. You're selling yourself to the manager. I'll give you another tip. It's also a sales speech for the manager, because the manager has to demonstrate on the day that that trust that you're interviewing for is the place that you want to come and work for, and that the behavior of the people you're seeing on the day demonstrate and align with your value. All right, so it's a two-way a sales speech, but more or less for you than it is for the manager. Okay, let me just mention two things. Again, this is based on experience. There are some roles in the NHS. So I know SK talked about, opportunities in the NHS and clinical roles, non-clinical roles. There are some roles that people do not go for. And I think it's because people tend to go for the similar roles. When you're looking for roles, you need to be looking at roles that are sort of hard to recruit. There's some roles that we call hard to recruit roles. I will give one or two that from memory that I know. So everyone wants an admin job, and admin roles are very, very competitive. Um, from my experience, when we put an advert out for one admin job, we're probably getting 500 applications within the first 2 days, and then you have to close the advert because somebody has got to then filter that and then move it on for the manager to shortlist. So what I say to people is, if you're going for those sort of competitive roles because a lot more people going for it, so it's harder to get into, then maybe you want to flex yourself towards those hard to fill roles. Some of those roles are clinical and non-clinical element in it. So I'll give an example. Therapist assistant. The number of people that apply for a therapist assistant is very, very low. Uh, Assistant practitioner, those sort of roles, yes, they have a clinical element in it, but they also have an admin element in it as well. So look for those sort of assistant or practitioner to a clinician and go for those roles. The reason why I'm mentioning it is because I know people talk about, having a COS, wanting a COS. If it's not competitive, the number of people applying are low, and you've done really well and excelled well, the chances that, getting a COS if you make the request might sort of increases. That's just a picture I'm just going to paint. I'm not saying that you will. I'm just saying, it might, the chance, it increases your chances. So please, don't just go for your simple receptionist, word clerk type of roles. Even for finance, you've got finance, HR, those sort of roles. Consider other hard to fill roles. If you Google it, trust me, you will get a list. um, NHS, I use NHS employers because NHS is our Bible for recruiters in the NHS. If you go into NHS employers and just type in how to recruit roles, you will see a list. Play assistants, they tend to be band 2, band 3, band 4s. Everybody goes for healthcare assistant, but they forget that a play assistant is similar, or a nursery nurse is quite similar, but it's working with children, not working with adults. So those sort of roles, just broaden your horizon when you're looking for roles, and hopefully you will be successful. I think I have covered most of the process from application to interview. I think I'll just probably leave it there for now, and I'll just find before I finish, just say this. um, Recruitment is a subjective process, and we're all aware. There are lots of research papers that can tell you that. The aim of recruitment is to recruit for vacancies. No one is expecting anyone to eliminate bias from a process, that because it's humans that deal with the process. But what most NHS organizations have done in the last 10 years, including things like value based recruitment, volunteer to paid employment initiatives, it's about trying to reduce that bias and open doors for people to be able to come into the NHS, because we know that we need that diversity for for the NHS to carry on, providing the service that it already does to patients. So that's all I've got to say for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Issy. Um, I'm so pleased that you agreed to do this. Because when Ulioma reached out to me to say that let's do this space, I was like, no, I don't want to do this space. But honestly, I think from yourself, Tolu and Issy, it's great to hear your perspectives as opposed to me coming here and just spilling out what I know. So there were a lot of things that you shared, and I really, really hope people are listening. What I would also appreciate, Issy, is if you wouldn't mind sharing those roles, just like titles for roles, even like a list, so people can know what it is you're talking about, because I can guarantee you some people are listening, they're thinking, how do I even know what terminologies to use? Because that's one thing I know in the NHS that we need to do a lot better with in terms of terminology. So what might help is if you're able to write the names of some suggestive roles, That would be brilliant. And another thing I want to share, before we take a short, I pass the mic back to SK, is that to work in the NHS is not just a trust. There are so many different arms to the NHS. That's why when I wrote in my tweet, I wrote NHS ecosystem, right? In the national health system in the United Kingdom, there are various types of organizations that is beyond the NHS trust, right? So you have, NHS Foundation Trust, you have what used to be the clinical commissioning groups, which were the CCGs, you now have them as ICS, ICB. Please, is important that when you apply for the jobs, understand which arm of the NHS they are in, right? So you've got the integrated care boards, which is the ICBs. Of course, you've got the Great NHS England, you've got the NHS Improvement, you've got the CQC, and you also have like special health authorities, you've got public health, PHE, and of course, you've got the primary care networks. It really helps when you are applying to know which arm of the NHS you're looking to build to go and work for. And it'll also help you with your interview as well. So I'm going to pass the mic back to SK before we talk further on the topic. SK.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very, very much, everyone, for agreeing to do this today. In fact, there's some there's something that I was thinking like, if I say that don't spoil market for we will they charge people for this NHS application. Because listen, I love to help people and I encourage people to DIY. Do it yourself. I do threads explaining like list of what you need to do and do it yourself. But our people like to be spoon fed. They like that when you give them an information, they want you to spell it out like ABC. If I say this is it, the first thing you need to do is just go and find out first, go and Google it. Then, if you can't find any information, come back. But no, they want you to tell them the website to Google. They want you to tell them go to www.google. But anyways, after this space, I'm hoping that we'll be able to get less of those people that want to be spoon fed. Now, thank you for joining us. This is NIUK, Nigerians in the UK Twitter community. We're gathered here today to discuss about one of the pressing topics within the community about NHS job applications. And it's been wonderful since we started. We've had recruiting managers talk to us about the process from top to bottom. We've had an HR person also tell us about what happens in the background so that we can understand what the process is all about. And part of the reason why I actually enjoy this space is what I do with some people that I speak to is I get people to understand, like when we're talking about preparing for interviews, like we're dissecting the job description, you're understanding what is there, right? You wrote your supporting information, but you're understanding what you've written. And that's what I enjoy about this space because we're understanding how the recruitment is being done. So that when you're filling that application, you're thinking like a recruitment manager. You're thinking what the recruitment manager is looking for. If you're thinking that way, you know what to put in there. And I'm hoping again that this space, I'm glad that it's being recorded. It will be something that a lot of people will make reference to understand how to do this better. Now, the Nigerians in the UK Twitter community, we do spaces like this just to encourage ourselves, just to help one another to connect and also to win together as Nigerians living in the UK. We also have all other activities that we do. It's not just always this serious. We have events. We've just come back from Swansea. We had a summer hangout in Swansea. We're having another party in December, end of the year party. Actually, December 7th in Glasgow, Scotland. We'll be having our end of the year party. We're having seminars. We'll be having a mortgage seminar sometimes, I think sometimes next month. Uh, there's plenty of activities that we do within the community. So please follow us on Twitter at niukcommunity.com. To join our community of over 20,000 people, you need to be a resident in the UK. You need to be registered in the UK and you need to have a profile picture You will not be accepted into the community if you don't have a profile picture. If your application to join the community, your request to join the community has been pending for over 24 hours, we cannot see it from the back end. It means that it's either been declined for not meeting the requirements to join, or it's just lost in limbo. So you have to send a message to any of the moderators. Please don't send a message to me. Send a message to any the official handle or any other moderator, and be sure that somebody will pick you up, and they will be more than happy to accept your invitation to join the community. We have a voluntary, capital letter voluntary, uh, yearly subscription of about £12 a year, which works out to be just £1 monthly. It is voluntary. It is not compulsory. I've been hearing people saying you have to pay that money before you join the community. It is false. It is voluntary, and what this money is meant for is to cover some little expenses that we run for the community. A very typical example would be the website hosting and all of those flyers and whatever that you're seeing for the community. That is what is being paid for. Nobody, and there's accounting that is being done on every single penny of that money, which will be done at a later date. It's going to be communicated to community members. This particular space is being sponsored by Lemfi. Use Lemfi if you want to send money to Nigeria, and you want to send money from Nigeria to the UK and every other African countries. Just go to their website or their handle at Use Lemfi. If you have any pending issues with them, just send a message to them. They will be happy to put you through. If you haven't downloaded the app, please use our referral code NIUK, NIUK with Lemfi, so that they can have a track record of how many people have come through the community. Right. That's just a very quick, short break, and I think it's okay for us to go back to the topic of the room now. Over to you, Buki. Thank you.
Did you just say that nothing as serious like this? We do a lot of activities not as serious as this.
This is too serious for my liking. My head knew the carry am again.
All right, all right. So again, let's get to the real topic that brought us here. And once again, I do want to say thank you to Tolu, and I want to say thank you to Issy for that comprehensive information and dispelling the notion that NHS application form can be done just the utilization of AI. Now, I like to give credit where credit is due, because if that post did not come up, we probably won't be here. And our people will be left with this misinformation of just doing things as they want. Yes. And therefore not recognizing that it's either spoiling their reputation, or they don't understand the reason why they're getting those, or better still, they get the job and they get into the job and they have no clue what they're doing, right? Or they're just trying to get by and so forth. Now, I think my tweet was slightly misconstrued as being against the utilization of AI. And it would really have helped if people actually read it and comprehended it. Some people, majority of people actually understood it, because what had happened is that I got loads of messages in my DM, some people trying to counteract what I said. And I think if you read my tweets properly, you will understand what I was trying to say. Now, should you use AI? Should you use AI? Should you not use AI? Right? Using AI to apply for normal jobs anywhere, right? It's depending on you. Just like SK shared just now, we are in an era where people want things really easily. They don't really want to stress, and you have to understand the reason why. It's because we are in a space of overload of information. Everything is available at any given information is given, right? We collect data, we collect information, and we disseminate it without actually confirming whether it's true or not. Yeah, we're in that space. So now, so, but for me, I think the tweet triggered me because I'll tell you why. That tweet triggered me because it says steps to applying for NHS. And the first thing that said, download chat GPT or any related AI, right? That was what triggered me. Now, using AI to apply for clinical and non-clinical roles in the NHS. If you understand what the national health system is about, it's about people's lives, right? And in the this topic raises very, very important ethical practice, right? And legal considerations. And when I saw that tweet, I was thinking about our people and the fact that we like to share information too quickly and not understanding the detriment of actually sharing that information. So I'm not going to bore you guys because we do want to give people the opportunity to come and hear out their, air out their grievance, or if they've used Chat GPT before and it's worked for them, it's worked for their sister, mother, whoever, right? But here are some key points that I think we need to start considering about using AI in any job application, right? There are advantages to it. So I want to focus on the advantages first. And then I want to talk to you about the implications of it, the disadvantages and ethical considerations that you need to put into place when utilizing it. And of course, some of the legalities of it as well. Because I love AI. I use AI on an everyday basis. I love using AI for productivity and all sorts of things, right? Because we're in that era, we're in that tech space. But let's look at the advantages, right? Yes, it's efficient to some degree, because why? It streamlines how you're going to apply, right? It streamlines if you're going to use, and there are some jobs in the NHS where they just say bringing your CV, maybe bank roles, yeah, bringing your CV or cover letters. But the NHS platform itself, that application process doesn't allow you to, is normal. I'm just like Issy mentioned, right? And I'm trying to think of other reasons why utilizing AI, it might just help you start the process really quickly. Maybe, maybe you've got like a writer's block, you're not really sure what to put in, you're not really sure how to start your statement, and you just thought, okay, let me put my CV and let it just generate a cover. But let me focus on the let me focus. And some people are not natural writers as well. So I understand that. But the disadvantage is that there is, when you're using AI, right, there's that lack of authenticity, right? Especially around clinical roles, right? That might be seeking some personal insights, that might be seeking some motivation and even genuine engagement. AI can't do that for you, right? What else? What else can I say? Another thing is, once you start depending on AI, you're actually going down the rabbit hole of constantly having to go to AI for answers, right? And what we want is not for you to, yes, use AI to help you, to propel you and everything, but not for it to be the answer and everything to everything that you're doing, right? So that's what I would share on that. Now, in terms of legal and professional implications, right? So if you are a person that secures the employment, let's say you went through because I've seen I've seen some tweets saying, well, it guaranteed me the interview and I got the job. Like, fantastic, congratulations. Now, if you secured employment from a successful interview using an AI generated application, what I mean by that, you use your personal statement for the application without actually adding depth to it, without actually adding your personality or your insight, or not going through the steps that Tolu has mentioned or Issy has mentioned, then there are some things I need you to be very aware of. Disclosure. There may be some ethical obligations for some candidates to actually disclose to the extent which they relied on AI. And I don't think our forms maybe it's a question for Issy. In our forms, is there an opportunity for people to say whether or not they've utilized AI or not? Because transparency is very, very important in the health sector, and they value integrity and honesty. And I love that Issy shared about the importance of where um, the NHS is trying so well, they've been working so hard to remove bias, right? In most of the organization I worked on, their focus has always been to remove bias. And that's why I feel like the NHS application process is actually the easiest. And one thing that was not mentioned is that once you've done the application the first time, right? All you have to do is, when you want to go for the next role, that application is still there. All you have to is just update it and then update your personal statement. It's not a case of having to start from scratch. I joined the NHS about approximately 8 years ago. And the application that I joined with, right, although the system has changed now, the application, I literally, when I was looking to apply for another job, I would go to the same application form and then I would add my new experience at the top. If I needed to change my reference, I just update my reference. If I need to check, and then I check my personal statement and then update it. It's the most easy. And I've done that for 8 years and I've gone up the ranks, right? What else do I want to share? And also, depending on the organization you're working for, there might be some organizational policies that's in place with regards to AI application that you don't even know of. So you're applying blindly, thinking, well, oh, it worked for somebody, it's going to work for me. No, I would say and try and understand what the job description is and then make sure you mirror it. And you could actually be breaching some kind of code. I'll wait for Issy to kind of explain a little bit more. So in general, using AI to apply for jobs can be done ethically and effectively, but provided that you complement it with genuine qualifications, just like Issy mentioned, and that you express your personal experiences rather than, you know, using AI to help you flower it. You need to be as transparent and as authentic as possible. And also try and adhere to, like, you know, ethical guidelines if you can find it or see it. I'm sure there's a lot of like links at the bottom that a lot of people disregard during the application process. They download the JD. I'm not even sure. Some people actually download the person specifications sometimes, because sometimes they put it together, sometimes they put them separately. It's very important actually to also understand the competency to make sure that it aligns with what it is that you're doing. But ultimately, AI can, you know, enhance your application process, but you need to think about how you're going to utilize it. That's exactly what I was trying to say in my response to that original email. I was not saying AI is completely bad, don't use it. I am saying that if we are in this era of utilizing AI, we have to make sure that the purpose that we're using it for, one, that it's not breaching any ethical codes, or slim it down as possible. And we need to reduce this mannerism of sharing information that we don't completely know about. That's what I'm going to stop from for now. But if anyone has any questions, I think that's the last of our topic. SK, or have I?
No, that's it. That's it. It's
That's it.
just
All
the
right.
AI thing. I just need to say something quickly on the AI thing, right? Because I can tell you for a fact now that in the next couple of minutes, you will get people on this stage that will come and tell you they've done 1 billion applications, they've used AI, it has never failed them. Yes, I'm part of you, right? I want to make a case for those people. But one thing I want to say is what Buki is saying is spot on. I'm the leader of the association of lazy people. I am very, very, very lazy. But my own laziness, it gets where it reach. Some people will ask you to share a copy of your supporting statement that got you that job. They will copy it exactly the same way and go and paste it to apply for job. So your own experience that you've mentioned in that supporting information, they will go and use the same thing. The same thing some people do with AI. When AI generates, yes, I appreciate the angle you came from, saying that some people they are not a writer naturally, they don't know how to start. AI will put you through about how to go about it. Yes. However, do your due diligence. Do not copy and paste and give it back to AI. Paraphrase, put it back into your own words, put it back into, in fact, on Twitter, if you're very conversant with Twitter, there was a time where people were saying common English, like what was that word, there's one particular vocabulary that they were saying in AI word. So when you read this AI generated text, you can tell it sounds robotic. Put it in your own words, write the way you would normally write, speak the way you normally speak in your supporting information. Copying directly from AI and pasting into your supporting information is the highest level of laziness. I lazy, oh, but my laziness don't reach that level, because you have to read and understand what you're putting there, so that even on that day, in fact, I went for an interview one day. It was not even in the UK, it was in Nigeria. And What he said to us was we're about like I don't even know how many we're so many in that interview, and the guy said to us that if he wants to conduct this interview, first thing he would do is probably to say, everybody come and tell me what's in your CV. That will filter away about 90% of people that almost everybody don't know what's in their CV. Somebody did it for them. They cannot defend it. So the first point of call would be to defend what you have written in that supporting information. If they wake you up from sleep and say, what did you put in that? You should be able to say it. When they're talking about your experiences, what you do. So the easiest way to catch people, especially when you work in clinical settings, is when, for example, if you're working as a biomedical scientist and you say to them, oh, you can do this, you can do that, no worries. When you come for the interview, that's when they will ask you technical questions. There is where they will catch you and know that you've actually used AI to write what you've given to them. Because there are some questions that AI will not be able to tell you the answer. It is you that you'll be able to express what you actually know. AI does not know better than what you know. So yes, me, I'm of the opinion that if you want to use AI, you need to be smart. Like when I mean smart, change every single word, paraphrase every single word to make it your own. That way, what you've done is you've used AI to like have a skeleton. Yeah. Now you've like the background, the foundation. Now you're building on it. You're removing certain things and you're adding things that AI doesn't know about you onto it. But anybody that wants to come here and say they've applied with AI for 20,000 applications, yes, you're still welcome. Just to put that out there so that you don't think Bookie is here to say don't use AI. Me, I dey use AI steady, steady. In fact, if anybody asks me to write an email now, the first thing I'll think about is AI. Come and write this email for me. And when I see the draft from AI, then I will now edit it to suit myself. Now that's it. So
Do you
please,
know
when
the
you're coming
worst
to
part for the AI is the bullet points? I can't stand it. Is when they don't change the bullets. They copy everything from the whole of AI. Like it's the bullet
I
points
know,
that
I see
jars
it a
me.
lot.
Yeah, the hyphenated bullet points. Like I don't understand. Sorry.
Yeah, and even the American and the English spellings, that one. In fact, another clue would be to when you copy anything from AI, put it back to Word and see what corrections you like that will be suggested to you. The American spellings are usually underlined in red. And say, for example, if you want to write capitalize instead of Z, you change it to S and all of that. Those little spellings. Like if I see a text by AI, trust me, like there's just something about AI written, AI generated text. You can easily tell, but there's a way you can still use the same text, like just engineer it to your own taste. That it's just gonna fit into purpose. Yeah, it's me, and then we'll go to questions. Yeah.
Sorry, just very quickly, I just wanted to add to what you, Buki, have just said. I, I think maybe my mindset when I read the text was I was assuming people were already doing the human intervention when using AI. Because if you
You will
just
be surprised.
They
okay,
are
okay,
not. Issy,
okay,
that's why I wrote what I wrote. I
I
know
okay.
they are
I have
not.
I've read so many supporting information that I would just be like, what is this for God's sake?
Yes, yeah, okay.
To the point, to the email, somebody will send you an email. I swear to you, it is directly generated from AI and they've not edited anything and they just pasted it there. You see somebody that will say, my name is in bracket, insert your name. I, I swear to you, I'll make screenshots one day. I'll make screenshots one day. I'll look for one of those emails. I'll post it on the TL just to back this up. I'll do it.
O- Okay,
Issy, can
so
I ask about
yes, yeah,
any ethical policies that might is it shared in any of the I'm just saying, just
yeah, yeah.
thinking. Go ahead.
Okay, so to be honest with you, to be being frankly speaking, we are kind of behind recruitment teams in the NHS when it comes to AI because of the initial problem we envisaged about 3 years ago when we started looking at building an AI tool to help us with shortlisting. When we picked up that, we sort of put it to the back burner. So what most NHS organizations have in their policies are kind of like generic information that comes from NHS employers. So at the moment, we don't have anything that says indicate you've used AI, because it's very easy to identify people who use AI in the application form. And then two, I don't know, for those of you who have interviewed in the NHS, when you interview a candidate and you hear them speak, the diction, the words, the phrases they use, very different from how they put in the application form, that you're going, huh? Is this the same person? So because that 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 it's not yet become a big ethical issue yet for us in the NHS. So recruitment teams are sort of concentrating on firefighting for other things than AI. But there are discussions around the heads of recruitment working group. There are discussions around what do we do in terms of AI. So generally, no one will tell you not to use AI, and that is the advice from NHS employers. No one will say not to use it. The expectation is that you use it with human intervention. That means you're editing it before you eventually send off your application. AI is not going to be able to tell your experience. Only you can tell your experience. So AI can give you the fancy words of how to start and how to phrase things, but you essentially describing experience of you doing something. So I'll give an example. If I had to describe speaking to a large group of people, and I'm talking about how I give a lecture, I did a seminar or something, AI is not going to generate that for me. That's my experience. And the expectation is that you talk about that. And at the moment, managers at the trust are heavily dependent on people being able to confidently describe their past experience and know technical, clinical answers. And so far, that has worked for us. So yeah, it's use it with human intervention. Please don't just submit it without having edited it. Yeah, and then of course, if you are gonna use it, make sure that the style of how you typed your, I know spoken English is different from written English, but you can tell where because some words people have used to describe something in the text, and when they're saying to you don't match, it's very easy. In fact, the first thing the manager will do is recruitment and say, recruitment, we've got this candidate. I don't think they've filled in the application form, and then would ask for, okay, tell us why, and then they would tell us this is what they said at the interview, this is what the application. We would then investigate, and then of course can exclude the candidate.
Awesome. Thank you, Essie. Thank you. I think we've talked AI to death. So, SK, let's talk a bit about COS.
Right. Yeah. COS. Right. Certificate of sponsorship. There's this. I don't know. I don't actually know where to start from on this particular one, because now it feels more like when you get information saying, "Oh, this trust is sponsoring on band 3," and then the next minute somebody comes to counter it and say, "No, I've just finished my interview now. They confirmed to me that they don't offer sponsorship." And there's this debate about, should you ask for sponsorship at the point of interview, or wait till when you've completed the recruitment process, and then you can put that on the table. Is this one, to be fair, I'm a little bit on the fence on this one, and I'll preferably want Isimi and probably Tolu to speak more on this, because that particular one, should you ask at the point of interview for COS, or should you wait till when you've been recruited? And also, with the immigration policies within the UK about the salary threshold of what can be sponsored, it's a little bit confusing now. Sometimes it used to be anything from a band 3, then you went up to you need to be earning at least 24 or 25,000 pounds, and then you come back to here. Yes, I'm earning 22,000 pounds a year, and I've been sponsored. It's now feeling more like maybe some recruiting managers now, they're not using their discretion to just dash out the sponsorship. What do you have to say to this, please? Thank you.
Okay, so um, let me just say, sponsorship is, there is no right or wrong answer. There is no right or wrong approach. It can come across sometimes as luck, draw of the cards. Some people will ask at interview, some will ask after being offered, or some will ask just before they start. There isn't a right or wrong, and I'll tell you the reason why. The main thing that people don't see is funding. Um, I think in HSJ about 2 months ago, HSJ published a list of trusts are struggling financially. That isn't. That is fact. That's real. One of the objectives most trusts have this year is to break even financially. And when you're looking to break even, one of the things you stop doing is reduce your cost on things that you can reduce on. Sponsorship, unfortunately, tends to be one of the areas that get affected. So anything I say will be only applicable to the employer I work for. All right. Yes, some of us, so I can give you an idea. I work in South London. Those of us in South London, we more or less tend to mirror each other. Different ICSEs will have their own approach. So essentially, um, most organizations will not sponsor uh, certain bands because of the cost involved. And let me explain what I mean by the cost. There are two costs when you talk about sponsorship. There's the immigration skills charge that came about when David Cameron came into post about 14 years ago, where if you're sponsoring a migrant who is not a student and is on any other type of visa, the employer has to pay £1,000 per year of the visa. So if somebody was offered a job and wants a visa, and we offer them a 5-year visa, that sponsorship is going to cost my employer £5,000 for the 5 year, plus the cost of the sponsorship, which is £239 current rate. And it's not paid instrumentally, it's paid at the time of issuing. So most NHS organizations are spending close to, if not more than £1 million a year just on sponsorship alone. And heads of recruitment are having to justify that spend to their director of finance, who is saying that cost has got to come down. So that cost is a big factor. The second thing is you then have the recent changes, which not all of us we're still trying to get our heads around it, that came in at the beginning of the year in terms of the salary threshold, what bands can get to sponsorship, those things. So from my experience, the easiest sponsorship to get are jobs that are classed as health and social care, and they tend to be clinical jobs. So jobs that are mainly clinical, that provide clinical care to patients, are classed as health and social care. And most of those jobs tend to fall into the category of, maybe hard to recruit, or the number of people applying for those jobs are reduced. And they tend to be professional clinical jobs that require a professional registration. So I'm talking about your nurses, your doctors, your occupational therapists, your physiotherapists, your pharmacists. If you get a job with that job title and it's over a band 5 grade, you will come under something, under the health and social care. And the health and social care requirement is slightly reduced compared to the general skilled worker visa. Then you then have the general skilled worker visa that isn't health and social care, and they tend to be non-clinical jobs, finance, HR, corporate, those sort of jobs will come under the skilled worker visa. And this is where the salary threshold comes in. So what determines if you get a sponsorship in some trust is if the job itself meets the salary requirement. If it's a health and social care, there are different salary depending on the different grades. I think the minimum is currently 23,200 until maybe when the current government makes any review. And with the salary increase, I don't know if you know, but the NHS has just had a salary increase in the last 2 weeks. Most jobs will meet that minimum threshold of 23,200 if it's a health and social care role. If it's not the health and social care role, which is a non-clinical role, I think the initially it was moved up to 38 grand, and I believe there is some review. I need to check what NHS employers is saying about the review, keeping it at what it was before the increase to about 29. But so the post essentially you need to be offered over that threshold or the threshold. And that means you're not looking at bands. When we've tried to look at it in the office, we know that most bands at band 6 is the one. Midpoint band 6 is probably what will get you that 38K. If we go by to the drop that Labour government have put in, which is about 29, you're looking roughly band 5, maybe top of band 4. So that sort of gives you the criteria. But there is another complexity on top, the complexity of having to reduce funding. And that is, will the trust offer you a sponsorship? I don't know if you know, there is no law that says a trust has to offer you a sponsorship. Yes, we have the Equality Act, but the Equality Act doesn't guarantee that you have to get a sponsorship, even if the employer puts on the advert that this post is open to the sponsorship. Usually, if we do, it's probably because we made an error in recruitment, not taking out the tick to say this post doesn't meet the requirement for sponsorship. So whether or not the advert stated it, it doesn't guarantee that you automatically will get it. Now, organizations that cash trap, what they're doing is they're eliminating certain roles and certain bands from automatically being able to request for a sponsorship. Like I said, it's some organization, it isn't everywhere, but the thing is, the way the NHS works is groupthink. Once one trust does it, everybody kind of comes together and does the same thing. So healthcare assistant now, band 2, band 3, it's a struggle to get a visa on that. So if you were successful and you asked for a visa, you might struggle, because even if the hiring manager really likes your interview, they think you're the best thing since sliced bread and they want you to get a sponsorship, if the director of finance in that organization is the decision maker that determines who gets the sponsorship and they say no, it doesn't go anywhere. All they will keep doing is requesting. So, in terms of when should you ask for a sponsorship, um, again, there's no rule. Some people are lucky, they will ask at the interview, they'll get it. I would say to people is read the room. You have been interviewed by the manager. You would have been communicate. If they offer you the job, you start having communications, because your checks, you'll be going through checks. They will be requesting information and checking with you. Try and see if you can read the manager, and if you are able to get a good reading of them and you think they'll be open to it, then you can ask when you think it's suitable. But to say if you wait till starting date, because I've had people who wait till they're starting and say, oh, I can't start tomorrow because I need a sponsorship. And we go, sorry, we're going to withdraw the offer. It can happen. And then you have people who say, oh, I've been offered this job, but I need a sponsorship. And, you can say yes or no. I will give a slight tip. And the reason I'm giving this tip is it doesn't apply to all trusts. Some ICSs are adopting this, and it doesn't mean that because I said so, it's fact. No, all right? Again, it's my opinion. It's easier to request a sponsorship if you are currently on a student visa and about to graduate. The reason is we go back to the cost. The cost of somebody who is a student now on a student visa and is probably finishing end of August and are able to start work full time from beginning of September, to get a 5-year visa, it will cost that employer £239, as opposed to anyone else on any other type of visa that costs 5,239. So what I say to people who are students is, if you can hang on a little bit more on your student visa before applying for the post-study, maybe 3 months, and just put in that effort and find a job, um, go for your more health and social care jobs. And then when you put in the case to the employer, you're putting the case to the employer. Again, you're like, it's a sales pitch. You're the product. I've done a good interview. I'm looking forward to joining the team. You can go and visit the team and say, I'm looking forward. I would love it if you can sponsor me. The cost of the sponsorship is £239. I'm sure in the cost of everything you do as an employer is negligible. You're likely to get a yes from that employer. That's the only tip I can sort of add to it.
That's a brilliant tip. Um, I've been in a situation where we've done interviews and we've asked people about their status, And I think sometimes that's also quite a good time to share that, because I'm talking at, well, this is about 4 years ago, and we've recruited people to support them with their visas. But that tip that you shared with regards to, being a graduate, I don't think many people know that, but it really, really helps. It really does. So thank you so much, Issy, for that. Okay, I'm going to pass the mic. Oh yeah, I think Tolu has something to say. Are we going to give people the opportunity to ask one or two questions, being that we wanted to close at 10? Maybe we allow people. Yeah. All right. So we go to Tolu, and then I'll
Yeah.
pass the mic to SK, and we invite some people to come and ask some relevant questions, please.
Oh,
Tolu.
that's fine. So thank you. Just want to share very, very quick, just to say, to add to what Isia said, very good. But as a recruiting manager, most of the times we don't even know if we're going to sponsor. So it still depends, as I've said, most times it depends on the funding. And it's always good to try your luck, because just like what she has said, at times when the hiring manager or the recruitment manager feels that you're good and you're one of the best that the team has been looking for, they can. I've been able to try this sometimes for someone, though we don't have the funding on ground, but we were able to convince the director of finance in our directorate to see the need, though it was a band five nurse, to see the need to sponsor such person. So it's always very good to, for me, I would say that go through, get the job first, and after, probably when you've been called to say congratulations, you've gotten this job and sort of things like that, then you can now ask the IRA manager or the recruitment manager. But at times, some of the managers we still go back to ask the HR. So it's not something that even during interview sections that they can just say yes or no, because they will still have. So it's always very good to go through the interview questions, get to the interview stage, get the answer if it's a yes or no, and see if you can ask after you might have performed or sell yourself out. Just a very quick one in regards to interview tips. Very, very quick. This is based, as I've said, this is based on my experience so far, and I think I just need to share that. Number one is the fact that during interview, I've realized that a lot of people think about the questions too much, and that's the reason why it's always difficult to give the best answer, because if
Has Tolu gone again, or is it me? SK.
Yes, yes, I'm here. I was wondering what happened there.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think Tolu's got really bad reception in the area that he's in.
Is he still
Okay.
there?
Mm, last time he went for about 60 seconds and then came back, but I'm sure is okay. As not to waste time, should we, SK, invite some people to come and ask some questions? Please make your questions precise, please. And if you want to make your comment, please, no long stories. I beg you. Just make it as precise as possible. Thank you. SK, I don't know. Are you? Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. I think the one thing I'll say first is I want to encourage people to follow Tolu, Isi, Buki. Please don't follow me because I will not reply to your text. They know more than me on this particular topic. We might not be able to get everybody to ask questions, so please follow them to direct your questions to them after this space. And no, we don't have COS here. So if you are coming to ask, please, I'm looking for COS, the answer is already no. Just go to NHS websites and go and do your thing there. So, right, please, straight to the point and just ask your questions. I don't care. The mic is yours.
Thanks, SK. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Buki, Isi, and Tolu. Thank you for a wonderful session. Just a quick question, like you said. I wanted to find out, how do you approach recruiters or the contact personnel that has been listed on an advert? What's the best way to approach them? And yeah, what's just the best way to approach them? Also for senior roles, um, that you might have concerns about moving trust or moving trust and thinking that there might be issues about applying for senior roles. Is there any advice or on how to approach that as well? Thank you.
Okay. Um, I think I can probably answer the one around approaching managers. So on every advert, you will have an mobile number or landline or an email. I would advise you to do phone calls. Is easier. Again, you have to put the mindset that the managers are busy. Uh, for them to get to an email might be tricky. So if you are able to just ring up and just let them know you've seen their advert, you're really keen, you're interested, you just want to speak to them and find out a little bit more about the role. And then you can ask questions around what is the expectation, what are they looking for, what would be the ideal candidate, what's the team like, what does every day in the team look like. If you can tell me about, what are the objectives or values or something around the team. It's just what you're looking for is just conversation starter that can make it easier for the manager to then talk about the role. Um, don't really ask questions that are already in the job description unless if you are not clear and you need clarification. The job description is quite detailed enough that you'll be able to see it. So it's just really, I'm keen, I really want to be part of the team. I just want to know more, that it's not on the advert. So tell me a bit more about the team, so that I can, picture myself in that sort of team. In terms of moving up, the NHS has no progression, as you, in terms of progression, they don't have automatic progression. If you want to move up, you apply for a job, the same process you did to get in the first place. You apply for a job, you go for an interview, you pass the interview, you move up. Again, it's easier for people who are already in jobs. I'm not sure why. I need to go back and check my research papers, but we tend to see time and time, it tends to be easier for people who are already in jobs to move, and it's also easier for people who are already in the NHS to move, which is why I think AB Buki and Ayola said this, that just take a job in the NHS. I can tell you where I worked. The Divisional Director of Services, which is a band 9, she started with us as a band 3 healthcare assistant. Within 17 years, she's moved up and she's a band 9. So all she's done is come in healthcare assistant and admin, and then she's moved up. So and there is no rule that says you have to be in a particular band for a particular amount of time. No. And there is no rule that says you can't skip bands. I've seen someone go from a band 6 to a band 8A. Again, is based on what they're doing outside, based on the experience they're able to demonstrate at interview. So when you feel that you're ready, start looking for that job. There is a document, I believe, trying to figure out where it is on NHS Employer. There is, especially those looking for admin jobs, that looks at the behavior, the skill, and the knowledge for most admin jobs, and it's by band. And if you go through that document, you would see what band you are. And if you're looking for the band next up, it sort of tells you what sort of experience you need and what you should be doing. Those sort of documents will help you prepare for that promotion whenever you think you're ready for it.
I love that you shared that, Issy, because when I joined the NHS, I didn't know that you can jump bands. But I was lucky that I came in from a band 6, right? And within 8 years, I think I could have done it a lot shorter. And I always share this with my students. I could have done it a lot shorter with what I know now. I'm at the very top of like an 8. But when I came in, I was a 6. But within less than 6 months, I was promoted to a 7 really easily. And I was a 7 for a year before I went into an 8. But one thing I know is I've heard stories of people from a band 6 to an 8A. I've literally done 6, 7, 8A, 8B, and up, right? But you can literally jump from a 6 to an 8 or a 7 to an 8B. So there is no progression with regards to that. I just wanted to share that just to let you know that it is possible and it isn't just a myth. But yeah, thank you, Adirunke. SK, do you want to share something? Because I think you
No,
have something
I'm
to say.
I'm motivated now. So what I want to do now is, maybe like say I did greedy. I want to jump
No,
now to band
apply.
8B.
No, go
8B. Now
straight.
job when I no qualify, I want to apply for now.
Yeah, but no, don't do that. Make sure, no. Let's not talk about not being qualified because
No, I'm joking. I'm
yeah,
joking.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm very sensitive about the system. I'm very sensitive that we make sure that we have the appropriate personnels doing the appropriate jobs. Okay, so I'm going to pass the mic back to you, SK, to let us know who's next.
Right.
Thank
Um. Bounce off of the first question. Right. Is there anything wrong in when you see the recruiting manager going onto LinkedIn to check that profile? is that allowed, or that would be classed as stalking?
I'll let Issy answer, but I don't think that that is totally allowed. I actually think that it's just like Issy shared. It shows proactiveness. Am I right, Issy?
Yeah, that's correct. It's about being keen and positive and wanting to be in that team. Um, Again, like I said, the managers are busy. Yes, will they know that you've viewed their profile? Probably. Yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah. We do have people who physically come into the organization, go on the ward and just knock on the ward and say, hello, I'm here. I'm really keen. I know you don't have vacancies, but I'm here. Just see me. People do that. So if people can do that face to face, I'm assuming checking their profile on LinkedIn, it won't be out of place. And again, don't forget that the managers have professional reputation. People apply for jobs because that manager they don't know, but they admire and aspire to be like is in that role. So I'll give examples. You're looking at roles like your chief nursing, your chief medical officer. Doctors and nurses that are applying are looking at who the chief nurse is and who the chief medical officer because they want to be working with that person and want that person. So again, that's entirely fine.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I pass the mic to Miss CV Healthcare Jobs in the UK.
Hi everyone, good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so just a couple of contributions and also to add to what's been said. My name is CV Healthcare. That's the name I go by now, but you can call me Cynthia. Manager in the NHS as well. I saw that Isimeme put a couple of jobs that people should try, and I saw mortuary assistant. And I said to myself, Nigerians that we are so superstitious, is there anyone that's going to apply for this? You know, have we called blood of Jesus 3 times? Who is going to do this job? So good luck to everyone applying to that. I will not be applying, but definitely you have my prayers if you apply for those roles, just on a lighter note. And there's a lot of people have said lots of thank you so much, Buki and Isimeme. I did see in the comment section that someone is still asking, what's the website for track? I mean, I wouldn't expect anyone to ask that question, but someone is still asking that question. So I have, done the liberty of writing it down, jobs.nhs.uk. I don't know. just take it, jobs.nhs.uk. This is something that we should be able to do ourselves. But if someone is still asking now, I really don't know what to say to that. So for the speaking to the topic, application to interview, if you go to jobs.nhs.uk, I'm trying to make this basic, not to sound elitist or privileged. Because I don't know if it's a comprehension problem or if as SK said, Nigerians like to be spoon fed. So I'm just going to bring water down the conversation, bring it to a basic level, because I feel like we've been speaking a whole lot of English here. And my Niger people, sometimes we want people to give us things directly into our mouths. So I'm here to open your mouth and give you this information if you find it helpful. So if you go to jobs.nhs.uk, you go to search for jobs, you put in the job you want to apply for: healthcare assistant, mortuary assistant, funeral director, whatever there. You put in where you are, you put in the distance and filter. That's the basic kind of introduction on how to start searching for jobs on this website. And a few tips to the interview, right? The most important thing you should do, apart from your information, personal information, and your experience, your employer history, and all that, your supporting statement. Your supporting statement should reflect the job description. It should reflect the person's specification. It should reflect your experience, your skills, and knowledge. I think lots of people came for Buki that time when she said something about AI. Is because most of us try to do a whole lot of copy and paste. So once I see a statement like in an ever-changing world, I'll be like, Oga, chat GPT. In an ever-changing world is always the giveaway. And sometimes there's no editing done. You do an application, there's nothing there about you. your employer history is not matching the job description and the specification of the role, and you are not curating. One thing about applications is like it's a journey for also the recruiting manager. They want to see how you started. They want to see what roles you've held before that closely mirror what you're applying for. And you see someone that has, let's say, a factory experience, right? And you see the person who going to apply for CEO of the hospital. And I'm like, Oga, from where to where? Even Portable is not this audacious, right? You don't curate your experiences. You don't clean up your track timeline. Everything is just messy. And that kind of sets people off from your application. And you're wondering, why am I not getting these applications? Oh, I have 10 years experience in customer care. You have 10 years in experience in customer care. Why are you using 10 years experience in customer care to apply for something like estate facilities? Where's the connection there? So we need to make sure that whatever skills we have, whatever industry closely mirrors, and you are able to use those transferable skills in what you're doing. And then just a few tips on the interviews. When you're going for interviews, lots of people get, unfortunately, apart from a whole lot of factors that happen, the ones within your control, try to be in charge of that. I know lots of things can go on in interviews. Sometimes they say, oh, you were a really strong candidate, but there was someone else we saw. Make sure that what's in your control, you have good control of it. Now, for example, be familiar with the role, right? You are there for a healthcare assistant role, or you are there for an admin role. You don't even know what the role is about. It's a band 4 role that requires some more technical know-how, and you are using generic answers that you've probably gotten from YouTube. Everyone is looking at those videos and you are using the same thing. It becomes monotonous when you are giving the same answers, right? Don't forget that people on the panel, you are not the only one they are interviewing. They have lots of people and they want someone that stands out. They want someone who is not boring. They want someone who is not repeating whatever jargon they've gotten from somewhere. They want somebody who has the right confidence, the right body language, someone they can see as a part of their team. And if you're not giving them
CV, can
these
you help us
things,
just
it
round
will
up,
be
please? Sorry.
difficult.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
So be familiar with your role, be familiar with your skills, your experience. Soft skills matter a lot, your body language, your enthusiasm, your confidence. I wish everyone good luck. And I like to do this as a way of helping people. So if it's only one person, I'm going to do it for. So if there's anyone that needs a help with their CV or help looking into their job application, just one person, just a way to give back to the community, hit me up in your DM. But all the best to you and keep applying. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Yeah, thank you for that. Right, that's the liberty of people that you get to relate with on our spaces. On this space tonight, we have big Oga at the top. That if you see them on the ward or if you see them at work, you probably just say hello. You're too shy to go to them because they are managers, they are band 8, they are band 9, and all of that. So the next person I'm going to call now, you people, you don't know that is Oga at the top. When I mean Oga at the top, the search real search. These are the kind of ogas that when you see them at the ward, when you see them, you just salute them. Are you there?
Guy, SK, no, they
I
remind
salute you,
me.
sir. I salute you, sir.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I want to say a big thank you to all the contributors, especially our guest speakers tonight. Real insight you've provided. I mean, especially with regards to, I think that little trick around having graduate visa just before you get a job. I mean, that's the highlight for me. I hope you can hear me, SK. Can you confirm you can hear me? Um, I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if you
I
can
mean,
just help us do it in 2 minutes, please.
okay.
All right, thank you.
Very quickly. Thank you so much. So I do have experience in NHS as a hiring manager, and I think all what the previous speakers have said is spot on, especially with regards to managers not having time. In as much as we people are encouraged to put in the time to should I say, make their applications robust. But I think at the same time, you need to strike a balance with not writing too much or too lengthy. And a lot of the time, using ChatGPT sometimes
Is he still talking?
I was gonna say I can't hear
I
anything.
thought it was a glitch. He's probably glitching.
Yeah, let's move to the next person while we wait for him.
Okay.
Oluwarami.
Uluwarami. Hi,
Yeah,
good evening,
please, two
everyone.
minutes, please, if you can. 2 minutes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you to the speakers and thank you to the community as well. First, I would like to know um, from my experience, is it that hiring managers from the NHS get to see history of other applications we've done? Because I often change my address. Probably I'm applying for a job very attractive in Manchester and or in Birmingham. I really want to know that. Maybe that's why I'm getting a lot of rejections. And then my second question is relating to non-clinical roles. Um, is it a must that we have NHS experience to get those roles? And if we don't have NHS experience, um, how do we win or sell ourselves higher than other applicants and candidates that have NHS role already that are also interviewing for that same role? Thank you.
I think Ayola had his hand up.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Tolu,
quickly.
if you're gonna take this question,
Okay.
particularly about the address one, another question to add to that is it true that someone that lives in Birmingham, for example, cannot apply for a job in London? Your address would be a disadvantage to you.
So let me, as I've said, well, based on the shortlisting I've been doing, I mentioned something earlier on. I said when you're shortlisting, you don't even get to see those personal details. So the only thing I could see in the beginning during shortlisting, just to ensure fairness, is perhaps experience. So I get to see where the person had worked before. So it can be later on after the whole shortlisting stuff, then we could see where the person is coming from. So for me, I don't think, as long as it's not one of the criteria or requirements, because if it is stated that the job you need to be on site, so it's your responsibility to look for a way or find a way around coming down for the interview. And if you're successful, find around a way to stay in that area. So seeing the address with all the shortlisting I've been doing, I only see the address and the name and details at the later stage, not in the beginning. The only thing I just see is your application ID. So we just give you a number. That's it. So the second question, it's in regards experience. So if NHS experience is a criteria, like an essential criteria, really it might be difficult to actually eh, um, um, to actually get through the interview stage if if NHS experience is a major criteria. So, and as I've said earlier on, you could you can actually start from anywhere. And I think we've mentioned volunteers, roles. We've mentioned just starting. You can actually have a desirable job that you're looking at, but just for you to get that NHS experience, just look for, probably, I understand that sponsorship might be an issue, but if sponsorship is not an issue, probably you're on you're on, you don't need sponsorship at that moment. You could just start with anything just to have that experience, then you look forward to applying for those roles that you're looking at.
All right, thank you for that. Just a quick thing to add to that. Something I did on a space we had the other day with research. So I was looking into a particular role, and I searched for that job. When I found the job, I found the recruiting manager. I went on LinkedIn to quote unquote stalk the recruiting manager, and then I was able to connect to the recruiting manager on LinkedIn, and from there we started talking about coming to volunteer in our trust. So with that approach, I was able to get link into the NHS to get my work experience. So it's something you can also try. Thank you. Next person. Oh, EC, do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, sorry, let me just quickly add two things. So, what we do in the NHS in terms of shortlisting is what you call blind shortlisting. So, when I mentioned that the application is divided into four parts, it's for that reason. So, any recruiting manager at the point of shortlisting will not get any personal details. That comes to us in recruitment. And until they finish shortlisting and putting people for interview, then that's when they get the name of the person. The second bit about experience, I know volunteering has been mentioned. but it's very, very powerful, and people don't seem to understand. Most NHS organizations now have something called volunteer to permanent positions. So we will advertise jobs just for volunteers only who are volunteering in the trust, just for them to get into a permanent job. So don't I wouldn't use the opportunity to get a voluntary where you can. And by the way, in terms of voluntary, it depends on whether it's a clinical or non-clinical and whether it's a medical or non-medical. If it's a medical post, you're probably looking for something around clinical attachment, because that would be your routine. And if it's then any other job that isn't medical, it's a volunteer. Even if it's 2 hours a week, 2 hours a month, you're making yourself known. And what you're essentially doing is giving the manager an opportunity to try before they buy. So they know you, they see how you work, they understand your experiences, so they get the opportunity to try you before they actually buy. So when they have vacancies, they'll be coming to you first to say, oh, I've got this vacancy, I'm going to put out. I'm going to put it out as internal. Are you interested in applying?
Thank you very much for that. And also, they trust you because now they've trained you, they've seen what you can do. It's not just saying it. Thank you for that. Really appreciate. Our next person is Isaac Abiodun. 2 minutes, please, Isaac. 2 minutes. Isaac, are you there? Isaac is sleeping. Next person is King Dio. King Dio, 2 minutes, please.
Yeah, thanks, SK. Good evening, everyone. So, I would like to ask um, that's AB or EC or Real. So, my question is this: listening to what everyone has been saying, there's a part I would like to get clarity on, which is the option of being a bank staff within the NHS. So, would you say it's better to be a volunteer or a bank staff? Because being a volunteer, I don't know if it's paid. But being a bank staff, that's like your part-time, and I feel like as a student, you probably have like a higher chance of getting in, right, as a bank staff. So now my question is this: as a bank staff, what would you advise to like navigate from that into being a permanent staff? Thank you.
Okay, so I'll take this one because temporary staffing also comes under HR. So, being a bank staff or temporary staff, what some trust might call it, is also quite similar to voluntary, but you get paid. Um, if you're able to join temporary staff in a bank, that's essentially good. The person who, again, you need to navigate is the manager. So the manager of the service you're probably doing temporary work in, if you're opportune to have regular temporary work in a particular area that you like and you get on with people at the manager, it's the manager. You can approach the manager and say, oh, I'm able to do full time, or I'm ready to get on permanently. Do you have jobs coming up? And they will tell you yes or no. Asking them that question shouldn't be any problem or any reason why they. And sometimes managers will actually approach us in recruitment to say, I've got a bank staff, so I only want to recruit people who are bank A within my team. And that's when you see an advert that goes out that is only restricted. That's because they've already got someone as a bank staff or other bank staff that are interested in applying for the job. So if you're able to get in as bank, great. The reason I mentioned volunteering is because that's the easiest, because it's unpaid for and it's based on your time. But if you can get in by a bank, that's also great as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for that. How are you there?
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
here.
2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening. Mine, it's more of yeah, it's still a question though, or advice. I don't know. So, it's I'm asking this because listening to the tip that was given by EC. So because I mean, I would say a similar situation. I I've had like let's say 10 interviews this year. I passed five. I failed five. Now, this last one, I had told myself I'm no longer turning down any job offer, even if it comes with COS or not. So when I got this one, they asked me, since I'm on the student visa, if I was going to switch to post study, and I said yes. Now, so my question now is, Since this tip that EC gave, is it advisable I still ask them for the COS, or just proceed since I've told them I was going to switch to post study?
Again, no right or wrong answer. Yes, you may have told them you're going to change to post study. You can also go back and say, I've done some research. Um, and I know that, I think this role will meet the criteria for a COS. Because I'm currently on a student visa, the cost of getting a COS is so. So I want to see if this is something that the organization or the service will be willing to sponsor. It's it really depends on how you approach it. You've already got the job, you've had the offer, you've passed all your checks, no questions, hopefully, with any of your checks. If you go back and say, yes, I intended to apply for a COS, but I want to look at if there's any opportunity, if the trust will sponsor me. And if they ask you for the reason why you changed, you can be honest. If I'm on a COS, it will take me 5 years to work on a COS to get indefinite leave to remain. And that's, there's nothing wrong in that. That's essentially what you want. What you don't want to do is try and dribble them. Just be factual and just say, it would take me 5 years. If I'm in a post study, after my 2 years, I then have to ask you for a COS and then do 5 years. I just thought it would be easier and quicker. And then I'm committed to the organization for the next 5 years if you'll be willing to sponsor me. And emphasize how, in terms of cost saving, there is a lot of cost savings because you're on a student visa and and then talk about, the values, what you bring to the organization, how you invest in yourself and all of that.
Thank you. Thank you. Although one
No,
last.
no, no. There's no ado. Sorry, ma. Sorry, ma. There's no ado.
Okay,
Sorry,
no
sorry.
problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. It's not possible to have everybody speak on the space tonight, so I want to encourage people to please follow AB Buki, follow Isime, follow Tolu, and follow everybody else that you think you can connect with after this space. This space has been brought to you by UseLemFi. Use LemFi to do your financial transactions, to send money back to Nigeria, to bring money from Nigeria to the UK. You want to pay your tuition, your house rent, you want to do your black tax and all of that. Use LemFi. That's the word. Just use LemFi. If you want to use LemFi, use our referral code NIUK. They are a very strong partners with the NIUK community, and it will be nice to have them win together the same way we're winning together now. Right, back to the queue. I'm saying it now. We will not be accepting all the requests because all these orgas at the top, they have to go to bed. It's a work day tomorrow, and we don't want them missing their appointments. So please bear with us, and you can continue the conversation on the TL in the community. Just ask your questions in the community, and there's plenty people that knows one or two in the community. They will be able to answer to your request. Thank you for that. Baba T, are you there? Baba T,
Yes, I'm here, please. Thank
straight
you.
to the point. 2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, straight to the point. I want to thank the moderators and the speakers. It's uh, your contribution has been really enlightening. For me personally, I will personalize this. The personal specification format, like you just said, pick it one after the other and just put it like that. I've always wanted to try it like that, but I felt probably it's going to look somehow. But now that I know better, I think I'm just going to go with that. And on the educational part from the person specification, please, I would like you to enlighten if one of the criteria is a master's degree and you currently, because for me, sometimes I see it and I put in this in my supporting statement that currently I don't have it, but I'm currently pursuing it, and I do go ahead to state gives more information. What do you think about that? Do you think I should continue mentioning it, or I should just take it off? And again on CPD, sometimes I'm a business analyst actually, and sometimes is the request for probably CBAP or BCS in the person specification, and what I put there is, although I don't have, because to write CBAP actually you need to have like 5 years experience on the job, and my experience currently is just a little over 4 years, and I've already registered with the organization to take the exam, and I just put there that I'm looking forward to it, and I just continue to put the certifications I've done at sites that shows, okay, yes, this person is does not have what we're actually looking for, but has something close, and I've had more continuous professional development about that. Then I would like you to just explain. I'm sure you understand. I don't want to take much time. Just explain how someone can go about that, and on the job experience on on NHS. Yes, for me, I don't have NHS experience, but I've
Babati,
worked on.
Babati,
So yeah, what? 10 seconds,
Babati.
please. 10 seconds.
No, 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 no. Let them answer. Your question is like three in one now. We have to
Yeah, I
go
just want to.
seriously.
Sorry. It's all right. It's all right.
So, who's taking the question, please?
Do you want to come in?
Yes, please.
In terms of the masters, the expectation is you put anything that you're in view. If you're currently doing a masters, please put it in. When they score, they won't score you like someone who's completed it, which is maybe the maximum score for masters is 2 out of 2, and you're in view. You might get 1 out of 2 or 1.5 out of 2. So please put it in. Again, don't forget. You're selling yourself, you're the product. So anything that gives stands you in good light, please put it in. In terms of any sort of CPD or professional qualification that's been asked, I don't think any manager expects everyone to meet every single criteria, because there's some jobs we have accepted that meeting every single criteria will be rare. But there is that at least meet a very high proportion. And some might say 80%, some might say 90, some might say 95%. If you put in your supporting statement about having 4 years experience, and talk about that experience and how you have registered to take that professional qualification exam, that puts you in a good light than not referencing it at all. Again, if it's not there, they don't know. It's based on what you've put down in your application form that they are assessing you on. So put it in if you have it or you're working towards it. Put it in.
Yes, put it in. Just to add to that, or a follow up question about certain people saying you are overqualified for the role, or again, people saying that when you apply for a job in the UK, you don't want to start putting your university degrees from Nigeria, so they tend to remove it from the application. So they start from they just put the masters, which is here in the UK. What do you have to say to that?
Yeah, that is one of the things that we're trying to work on with hiring managers about the overqualification. So where their anxiety comes from is that usually when people have very high degrees and high experience and they're applying for a job that you can see that they're overqualified for, they're less likely to stay. Managers are looking for people who will do more than 100 days in the organization,
I
because
thought you people said we should not be loyal to our employer. We should be moving.
no, I have to look at, I'm talking as an employer now. So I'm looking at it as an employer, not an applicant. From an employer perspective, I don't want to spend 3 months doing recruitment. Then the person starts and leaves in 3 months' time. Then I have to start the cycle again. It's very expensive for me. So that's what their fear is. If I recruit this person who is overqualified, they're not going to stay. Again, this is where that doing extra comes in. That phone call, that going to see them helps if you're applying. Yes, I know I'm overqualified. Be honest, tell them but there's a reason why I'm coming for this job. I've heard stuff about your team, or I like the trust, your values, something has attracted you. Simply put, I'm looking for a job because I want to get paid. You can put that. But that's the anxiety that managers have. It's difficult for us in recruitment to tell managers to stop doing that because we understand their perspective. What we tend to do, and I think someone's mentioned this, one of the speakers has mentioned this, that we cross check. So when they shortlist, we will cross check and just make sure that, the shortlisting is fair, and we can defend it if we're taken to an employment tribunal, and then we'll check it from there. But yeah, I know it's a practice that happens, but it's one of those that it's very, very, very difficult to say don't do, or tell managers don't do, or they shouldn't think like that. It's just because there's a reason why they do it.
Right, thank you for that. Who's Odogu? The mic is yours. 2 minutes, please. 2 minutes. Odogu, second chance. Okay. Isi, just HR related question. Are you allowed to be given day off to attend interviews, or you have to take annual leave for that? So
Sorry, is that
when you work with the NHS, right?
yeah,
Is
is
he
annual leave?
say that again?
Is annual leave. I'm sure Issy will confirm. If it's within the organisation, depends on each organisation's policies. Now, it depends on where the interview is held, as far as I know. So, if it's within your organisation, there might be a policy around you taking, like, being given to you and given time to do that interview. But if it's external, it should be taken as annual leave. Issy, please confirm.
Is this about taking time to do interviews?
Yes, yes.
Okay, historically in the NHS, we used to have a rule, and I don't know if that rule has disappeared. I need to check the terms and condition where if you're currently working in the NHS and you are applying for another job in another NHS organization, you will get some time to do it. But I think that rule probably has gone away. But it used to be there a long time. What most people do is they would either take it as that annually, but I need to check the terms and conditions. If there's a possibility that is sneakily taking that away, and this was the days where we had thousands of vacancies, not like we do at the moment. But essentially, most people will take it as leave if you're not able to get the time off.
And
This
lastly, from my
is
end,
annual leave.
yeah, lastly from my end, what's your take on applying for job at work using the work computer to apply to for another job?
I'm not sure many managers will like that.
You shouldn't be doing that.
No.
So I cannot
Um,
take KFC into McDonald's and eat.
It's different, SK. Why are you asking this question?
So let me give you the line of an employer. It's our time, and that time is meant to be spent for patients. So are we now saying to patients that they shouldn't come to hospitals when they're ill because we have people who are spending that time to do their own personal stuff? So I think what tends to happen is employers will not check. They won't be checking if you're doing an application form. I don't think anyone has the time to check it. But if you can avoid doing that, most NHS organizations have a library that you can go within your break time and use the library. And I think most jobs tend to now have at least access to a laptop that you can use. Do it in the library on your lap, but not blatantly in the middle of the service. Although I should say that because you have different staff groups in the NHS, for medical and dental is slightly different. And I'm sure if I check their terms and conditions, there might be something there that probably gives them that opportunity to do. But I need to check that. But for the rest of us who are not medical and dental, that are called Agenda for Change staff, I will probably say no.
All right, thank you very much for that. I think that's it, really. Yeah, that's it on the stage. Like I said earlier, is unfortunately we cannot take all requests. Please follow Buki, follow Isi, follow Tolu. And now Tolu is gone now, so if you didn't follow him earlier, that's it. So that's why I was emphasizing the other time that we should follow them so that when they go, and please, I don't. Okay, I'll leave that for now. So yes, please follow NIUK community. You can request to join the community so that we can carry on with this conversation. You need to be resident in the UK. You need to have a profile picture on. It's the payment is voluntary. You don't necessarily have to pay if you don't want to pay, but it's just a way of supporting the community so that we can put these things into um in order for us to enjoy it. It's been a wonderful night. I'll just give our speakers just 2 minutes to just give their closing statements, please. EC, I'll start with you, EC. The mic is yours.
Okay. First of all, just to say thank you very much for the opportunity to speak this evening. I think part of the reasons why I joined the community was around, trying to get people. I tend to use social media to target candidates who I see their profile, they look good. So it was about trying to recruit. The only final tip I will give, I've been lucky in my career in recruitment that where I've had opportunity to interview Nigerians or Nigerians have come to the trust where I work to interview. When I never fall my hand. So that's been my experience, and I love that. The only thing I would say is when you get to that stage in an interview where they ask you, have you got any questions? Please, if you don't have any question, don't ask anything. Please. The only time that we had, and I almost seriously, I was annoyed. Somebody asked a question. I'll tell you the example. Somebody asked a question around if a patient puts in a complaint about sexual harassment, would the trust investigate? And I could just see the panel going, what? Please, if you don't know what to ask, it's okay to say no question. But if you are thinking about questions, ask questions around training, team, those sort of nice, easy subjects, benefits, what it's like, what does first day look like, you'll be fine. Please do not forget, it's a sales pitch. You're selling yourself. You know your experience. You know your knowledge. Just sell yourself. Managers expect you to be nervous. That's good. In fact, they even feel warmer. They warm up to people who are nervous because that tells them that the person really wants the job and has prepared. Sometimes you might have experiences. I've had experiences where people cry at interviews. I've had experiences people fall sick. If that happens to you, that's entirely fine. Or you go blank. If you go blank in an interview, the panel is not going to say, we're not going to give you the job because you went blank. That's okay. Just tell them and explain, I'm really nervous. I've gone blank. You can do simple things. Stand up, sit down. You'll be fine. So yeah, as long as you're able to sell yourself, you should be fine. Thank you.
So, a quick one before you go, please. When you enter into a room and you see somebody with fire on their head, how can you drop that fire from their head?
SK.
But no, 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 seriously, it's a serious
Which
question.
fire are you talking about?
So when I enter into a room now, like interview panel, and I look at their faces, and you know that fake British smile, and you can tell that this
Oh,
one I could be
come
the
on.
troublemaker. What can I do to just break their ice and just
Smile.
Just smile.
Smile.
okay? So
Just
the smile
enter,
will
smile,
quench the fire.
be your person, be yourself.
Okay.
Bring out your personality. I'm not saying bring out all of your personality, but people like authenticity. You don't have to come in and you to frown face. No, you smile. That's even get them to change their perspective. Just smile at them, go to them, shake their hands if you have to, be firm. And I think the question people tend to get wrong is when they say, how are you? And you're like, I'm fine. No, it's an opportunity for you. Like, I love when Issy was talking about sell yourself. You start selling yourself the moment you get inside the interview room. And even before that, be prepared to know who it is that's going to be on the panel. This is the time where you will go onto LinkedIn and then you'll review their, work experience, what they've been doing, how long they've been at that, the trust or the organization. You have those quite you know that the persons before you go inside. So the moment they looking like they found majority of the time we're tired. You don't know how many interviews we've gone through. You don't know how many applications we've read through. You don't even know what other pressures that we're facing. We just want the interview done, so sometimes it's not our facial expression, it's just like we just want this to be done. We want to make sure that we're hiring the right person for the role. Just like Issy mentioned earlier on, this costs money, so we have to make sure we're going to get it right. But going back to people being overqualified, i've I've employed someone that's way overqualified for the role. She came for an administration role, but she used to work for the UN. She used to head like a directorate in the UN, but she's getting near retirement age, and I absolutely loved her. And I recruited her, and she came in. I actually left, and she stayed. So sometimes it isn't just about being overqualified and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think Issy wanted to say more on that, and then I'll give my closing remark.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I think I missed it when I was talking about it. Yes. So, in terms of being overqualified, again, recruitment, there's no right or wrong. Wrong is when you're breaking the law. Yeah. So yes, they might have concerns, but it doesn't mean that they won't take you. Um, just in addition to that, is the same way you look at a job description and say, I can't do some of these things. Don't sell yourself out. Um, Look at it. and be positive. What are the things I can do? Is the same way to the person who's overqualified will be saying, and be honest, yes, I know I've got all of this qualification, but I want this job. What managers look for is your motivation for why that job, why my team, and why my trust. That's essentially what they're looking for. And you've got the skills, you can do it. If you can do the skills and you have the motivation to be in my team, you're done. So being overqualified should not put you out or sell yourself out of it. Put it in, and of course, depending on your experiences, again, uh, don't forget that there is the cross-checking. So if a manager doesn't shortlist someone and I get a complaint and I have to investigate, I will be saying to the manager, you've got to interview that person because you couldn't have rejected them because they're overqualified, because that throws us into dangerous waters, which we don't want. So yes, you might feel, you might feel like, oh, I shouldn't put myself forward. No, if it's what you want to do and this is the job you want to do, please put yourself forward for it.
Sorry, please. They will not forgive me if I don't ask this question. Why, when you apply for certain jobs, like now, you apply for a job now, 22:38, probably in the next 5 minutes, you get unfortunate email. Is it preset or there's somebody waiting to say, I'm not going to let you enter?
There is some kind of criteria that's been set up with the advert. So there will be some kind of automatic criteria where you put either yes or no, or you've answered the question and the way you've answered it is in the way it's been set up as the correct answer. So it just automatically removes you. So to give an example of one, um, I don't want to introduce things that would make us talk for long, but if you're applying for certain roles and you're outside of Nigeria, or I say outside of the UK, and you have a foreign address, and that particular role, they want to restrict it to people within the UK, and they have a set question that says, reject anyone whose location is not, then it will reject. That's just an example. Not that it has actually happened, just me making up an example.
But Issy, when people are applying, sometimes there is like a cover note, like almost like a cover request, like, do you qualify by clicking this list? And it is for you to say, yes, I meet the requirements, and then
Yeah.
continue with the application. But what you're saying is that when people apply, sorry, I just want clarity, because from what I know is that the requirements will be at the very beginning, where people will tick, yes, I meet this requirements, and then they will proceed to the application. But what you're saying is that once they complete the application, that the system will select those that they're addressed, just as an example, that it's foreign, that it would tell them automatically no. I didn't know that was the system.
We have two. So we have
Okay.
the pre-application, which is what you're describing, and that
Mm-hmm.
stops you from even applying
Okay.
automatically. We call it a blocker.
Yes.
And then you then have the application question, which is another criteria that
Oh,
comes with the
yes.
application form. That, yeah.
Yes, I remember. Okay. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Issy. SK, my closing because of
Yes,
time.
yes, you're
All
closing
right.
now. Yeah,
Awesome.
thank you.
Awesome. 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 God, I got so much I want to say. God, blank now. Firstly, let me just say a huge thanks to Issy. When I DM'd you, I wasn't sure whether you were going to respond. So thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. And of course, Tolu, really appreciate you. When you are applying, I think the reason why this conversation started was because of whether you should use AI or not use AI. I've never said that you shouldn't utilize AI to make your application more efficient. I'm just saying that there has to be a level of authenticity inside it. Also, when you are going for the interview, oh my god, why didn't I write the notes down? It all escapes me now. Probably going to remember when SK is talking. But what I would say is just be your true self. When you go inside the interview, be your true self. Try and prepare your questions, prepare your answers, and try and see what will make them want to hire you. Go the extra. If there's a presentation, go the extra mile with the presentation, and answer the questions. There's nothing worse than coming into an interview and not answering questions. Even if you prepared for the questions, and then please just answer the questions in a smart way. What else would I like to say? I think that's it for now. But if anyone has any questions that they want to ask, send a DM or just write it as a on the TL. I'm sure I'll respond. I'm sure Issy will respond and Tolu will respond as well. So I'm going to stop for now. But yeah, it's been great being in the space. SK, you can do your closing remark and I'll see if I remember. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for that. Spaces like this, things that we like to discuss within the community. It has just been brought to my attention now that the British Army will be recruiting for Commonwealth citizens, which Nigeria is part of, sometimes later this month. And somebody requested that it would be nice if we can do a space about it. So if you have you've served in the British Army or you know somebody that can educate us about that topic, please reach out because the person I get for mine. I'm not going to talk anything. Anyways, please, it's very serious. If you know anybody that is presently within the British Army or has served in the British Army and you want to educate people about how to position themselves better with application or even just to tell us more about it, because even me like this now, I feel just change my mind, say I want to fight for the British Army. So yeah, it would be nice to know more about it. It's been a wonderful night. This is NIUK Community. It's a registered community with the Company House UK. It's a registered company, and we do these things just to promote the life experiences of Nigerians living in the UK. With different activities, seminars, Twitter spaces, parties. Yes, parties. We party a lot. And also, we just cruise and banter on the TL. It's a go-to place for Nigerians living in the UK. You want to be a part of this community, and we encourage people to just interact civilly in the community. To join the community of over 20,000 people, all we're requesting is please be resident in the UK. We know a lot of people living outside of the UK wants to be in the community, but please let's respect our rules. You have to be resident in the UK, and when you're being picked upon to come and verify your residence in the UK, it is the rule. There must have been a mistake when they accepted you, but please do not take it personal. We're just ensuring that we are accountable for people within our community. Also, you have to have a profile picture. There's nothing like, oh, I'm hiding my face from the public. All my social medias, I've never used a picture. Fair enough, but not in our community. It can just be a fan from outside on the TL. And again, the community, what's it called? The community subscription. It's a £12 a year. It's £1 a month. It's very, rich money for chicken and chips. Rich. So we put this just as a way of supporting the community and just paying for just little bills that needs to be done. All of these things that you're seeing with the NIUK is being paid by somebody, and we don't want to put the burden on them all the time. So that's why we put a token. And this token, it is not compulsory. You do not have to pay. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. You do not have to pay that money to join the community. It is voluntary. If you want to make the payment, if you look on the jumbotron, there's a guide that tells you what to do and how to do it. Just go on to niukcommunity.com, click on become a member, fill in your details. Even if you don't want to pay the £12, just go on there to fill in your details. And the reason for this is we have newsletters that have been set up so that when we send us these newsletters, you will get them. An example is this space. When we do the newsletter for August, then it will be covered in there, and you can get updates about certain news about the issue of Brendan that we discussed yesterday and other issues within the community. It will be included in the newsletter, and you can get it. So please, even if you don't want to pay the £12, go and fill the form to become a member. And if you now want to pay the money after filling the form, it will give you an information to copy and paste in your browser where you can now make the payment via our merchant, which is Go Cardless. The money is not being taken by us. We have a third party company that takes the money and remit it back to us. So please, you do not need to be a paying member before you join the community. That's being said. Right. Thank you very much. And a very, 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 very big, huge thank you to our speakers tonight. Mr. Tulu is not here. EC, thank you very much. And our unofficial vice president of the Nigerians in the UK Twitter community, Madam AP Buki. Thank you very much. And God
Follow
bless you.
SK, follow SK, follow SK, follow
I'll be
SK,
thumbs up person. If you follow
follow
me.
SK.